Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It is Thursday night, and it is time for another NLG Show. Welcome to all of you who are in the chat room. Welcome to all of you who are watching, who we need to be in the chat room because our chat room's hopping and a great place to be. So come on in if you're just kind of checking out. Stop in and say hello. And tonight, we've got a great guest and someone who, he's a celebrity, you know? One of the,
That I am not. Hold on, time out.
He's an inside.
all right, why don't we call?
gamer.
We'll say.
Inside
We'll
gamer.
say. Personality. How's that? Can I say person?
deal with that.
All right, we'll call it that.
Deal with it.
Formerly from Xbox and Xbox marketing, and from inside Xbox, Rukari Austin. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm glad I could join y'all. Always happy to do it. Any chance I get to run my mouth, I will gladly take.
Nice.
So I appreciate the invite.
Nice, John, we got competition for you tonight.
Yeah, I like it, man. That's what it's all about, though. Yeah, I mean, it's all about the talk. And Rukari, it's very nice meeting you, by the way.
Absolutely, nice to meet y'all too.
And
Yeah, I appreciate you jumping in. Like I said before, I enjoyed you on Inside Xbox, and I know you're a gamer, so I figured be a good opportunity, invite you on, especially right now with Inside Xbox coming back on. Guess it's been a while with all this crisis with COVID. So
Yeah, absolutely.
and we all know what that's like, stuck at home.
Yeah. How are you surviving the apocalypse?
Considering everything that happened last year, and technically I got the word that layoffs were coming May 6th. Quarantine is easy because I've been doing the same thing since then. Now that I have less of a day job with Xbox and my career has turned more events driven, during the day, I'm pretty much home and not necessarily on my butt. Like, I miss the gym. I miss being able to go play basketball. But I'm still home creating content. So it hasn't been horrible. Like, I'm very fortunate to say that things are still trucking ahead and I am not going insane. Nor are my kid, and hopefully not my partner. I don't know. She ran off somewhere, but she might be going insane.
Trust me, I got 3 boys at home. They've been home from school for a while, and we're expecting them to close the schools here in Maryland any day now, and so for the rest of the year. And it's getting a little saucy because other than out in the backyard, there's not much for them to go, and so
yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true.
So, well, we're gonna get into all kinds of stuff that you're doing then, because we know you from seeing you on Inside Xbox, but now I want to know what more about what you're doing with your events-driven stuff, and then we're gonna talk some games tonight and just kind of kick back and relax. I want to wish those of my fellow Jews out there happy Passover. I just got finished my second night Seder roughly before we got here. And just so everybody, for full transparency, I've had 4 cups of really good wine. In case I start slurring or fall asleep in the middle of the podcast, I'm just letting you know.
Welcome.
I don't know. Everything real great there. The enunciation was there. I feel like, there's 5 fingers, whatever, 4 and a thumb on your hand. You could close that out that you had 5.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. So, no. And
so this can be our longest show then. Once it becomes state life, it's like,
right.
Yeah, we broke
I wake up the next morning and the thing is still on, and we had ourselves a marathon. So,
I've seen another guy that did a podcast where he fell asleep, and everybody would go on there and look at his stream while he was asleep.
Is this Frankie?
Frankie Aylor, who isn't on tonight because his internet went out.
It'll be easier to talk about him.
This could be me later on while you guys are talking about stuff, and I could just be like this, and it'll be okay. So, and welcome everybody in the chat room as well. We have a great one of the things that Rukari, that we love about our show are the people that are in our chat, and if you have a chance to have the chat open and you want to interact with our friends. We don't even call them fans; they're our friends. These are our gaming brothers and sisters, and there are some really incredible people that stop by and talk with us. So And there's a lot I mean, there really is a lot going on, not just with obviously in the land of Xbox, obviously we got to look at a new PlayStation controller yesterday, which we'll talk about. We got another Inside Xbox, which we'll talk about, and then whatever else is on your mind, Rukari, for in the world of gaming. I mean, you've been out there and you get to see a lot of this stuff. So kind of picking your brain tonight is going to be quite a quite a nice treat for us.
Okay, all for it.
So, Peter, Chris, John, how you guys doing? How we
Well, what I said earlier, we're still alive with this, being cooped inside and doing homeschooling with my daughter. That's, it's a challenge.
She doing good with that?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's, even, she got an iPad from school and they have some morning meetings and now it's getting a little better because they have a little bit more interactivity with the school and stuff, with her classmates and the teacher and stuff. But otherwise, it's like she's 6.5, which is like, it still needs a lot of hands-on, and to help her out. And it's not that, can't fall behind. So it's challenging at times, but we're managing.
That's great. And because I know, we're both in IT. I'm sure it's not terribly easy to break away from work to do that stuff.
Yeah, well, at least it's me and my wife that will take turns and stuff. So
that's awesome, man. So, and at night, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? I've been playing Modern Warfare. Just finished the campaign. Was it last night or the night before? So now I'm wrapping up a couple of Chivos. That game is gorgeous and so much fun. So
the
new one.
Oh, the new one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's a confusing name, but
I know, right?
Well, now when you start it up, it's called what's it called? The icon is from Warzone. So now it's like Call of Duty Warzone. It's like, oh yeah, that's the one. It's like crazy.
Nice.
So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun though.
Cool. And what have you been up to, Chris?
Just pretty much still going to work, and we just got told today that somebody's going to be tested for COVID-19. So they're doing a big cleanup tonight, and I guess we'll find out if that person comes out positive. So, but they would have told us if we were in contact with that person at any point. So they haven't told me anything. So other than that, everything's going fine. The wife and the little one also at home. Wife works at home, and so the wife is a teacher and works at the same time. But what's cool about her being home, that she's doing some spring cleaning, so you get a lot of stuff taken care of at the house. So, and just got to clean up around the yard and everything, so the little one can play, have fun outside in the backyard. So, did
you guys also got an email from the city, like, do not put out too much trash, because everybody is like spring cleaning because everybody has a lot of time on their hands and sitting at home. It's like our garbage.
Actually, we got lucky. We still had bulk pickup, so we were able to get rid of a lot of stuff. So the city's still functioning, like normal.
Well, here too, but they had like a lot more than the usual usual pickup because of
people are bored at home, so they're throwing away.
Yeah, exactly.
We're also gaining a lot of weight. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm feeling. Go ahead, Rukari. I'm feeling a little bloated myself.
I was like, I'm trying not to. Like, there's an exercise bike that's now in my tiny little condo.
Nice.
And I've been on that a few times, and we got instructions on how far we should be behind somebody else that's riding, and I live on a bike trail, so I try and get outside if the weather's nice, and at least do that. I don't need to be by anybody else, but yeah, Lord forbid, I'm big enough as is. I don't need to hit any higher.
Oh man, I've got what's really sad is I have a treadmill, like right over there. I can see it. And
store
probably still got the plastic on it.
Cobwebs.
It's like a nice shelf, no?
Right.
Yeah.
It's holding down the floor, is what it's doing. So, Chris, Oh, go ahead.
I've been going on bike rides as well, and my daughter, she learned to ride a bike over just after Christmas. So, now we can hit the trails and stuff, and she's pretty decent. So
Nice. Yeah,
That's-
my 5-year-old does a lot of biking. The other two, not so much. So that's all right. Starbuck United said get one of those Wii Fit ring things.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
you can't even
Game
get
and
them
exercise
anymore.
at the same time.
They
Daredevil.
sell
not.
for
Never
they
not.
sell for a lot of dough. Ask Nate about it. He sold his secondhand for like a ridiculous amount.
Daredevil Dave is in.
Oh no.
Put him in Retromania.
Yeah.
So have you gotten a chance to play anything, Chris? I know you've been busy.
I've been playing Animal Crossing. So, that's one of those games where you can just pick up, like, I get up, jump on it in the morning before I go to work, and jump on it at night, take care of some business, try to make some money off of the turnips, and, and then my little one, she also is on the same island, too, so she'll jump in there, and then I'll try to go and clean up her mess.
Is she the primary or are you?
No, I am.
Okay.
But I remember one
I'm
one
not the
time
primary, and it's like
yeah.
can't do anything without her doing anything, and she's not really playing it. So I'm like, I have to play as her, with her character in order to
Take care of
unlock
this.
stuff.
But it was funny. I jumped in there one time. I saw a bunch of trees chopped down. I'm like, what? So I told her,
Stone
"Don't
axe,
chop
not the
trees."
metal axe.
Yeah. Use a stone axe, girl. No,
She's in there
that scared
breaking
me
your
for a
stuff.
second. Yeah.
So, nice. What about you, John?
No,
John.
and I picked up-
hold on. Good.
Oh, real quick. I also was playing a little bit of the was it unreliable delivery service, the one from Tiny Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Totally reliable delivery service. Yeah, that's a fun game. It's a trip. So
Nice. Oh,
gotta
and
check
by
it
the
out.
way, Rukari, I forgot to tell you, jump in anytime. If you look like you want to say something about a game we're talking about,
Oh,
really,
no.
just
No
jump
worries.
right on in. I'm only doing it, because once we get started, it's free for all. So especially with John here, man. John loves to talk, but we love him because he talks he talks games like nobody else, man. John,
That's why you saved him for last for this intro bit, huh?
That's
I see.
right.
I get it.
That's
That's right.
but man, I love the Mass Effect shirt, brother.
Oh, do you?
Love the
Yeah.
Mass
Oh,
Effect
yeah.
shirt.
Oh, Shepherd.
nice.
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and he's actually the one of us, Rukari, who's actually got a 1-Up arcade in his room there, and he's got the one that I want, the Final Fight. And what else is on that one?
Well, it's got Strider. You remember that?
Yes.
I played that. I played that on Xbox too. That
like
was. You got the Ghost and Goblins. You've got the Final Fight, and then you've got. I think it's Flight 1944 or something. It's
1941.
I like
that may be it.
Yeah.
448. No.
43.
Something like that. 44 or something. It's.
One of them.
It's a fun game. It's like Galaga, but it's like you're in these like planes and stuff. It's kind of a mix of modern and old stuff. And but my wife and I, when we got that and we put that together that night, man, we played for hours. Her and I just pulled up a couple bar stools, and we just played. Man, those buttons were going all night long.
Jago says it's 1942.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's almost like the price is
Big
right.
old-
Oh,
Oh, that top down, that game that took all my quarters at the damn laundromat when I was young.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like that airplane game. Yeah. I
Well,
know what
this
it
one
is.
like a double-edged sword because you can keep continuing no matter what. So if you die and you run out of lives, you just bloop, hit the button and you keep going. So my wife and I, we went through all the levels, man, and just constantly, but it's fun. We've had a lot of fun with that one-up arcade. The quality is actually pretty good. I think the audio could be a little bit better in some of the games, but it's as far as the price and what you get, I mean, it's fun. It gives you that arcade feel at home,
I still want the Star Wars. That's the one I want.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Still good enough.
Jago said he's got 2 of them in his man cave, and then Dave says he wants the Turtle and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones, but he keeps getting told no.
Yeah.
I've played that. In Walmart when they had it set up. That's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. But
Did
you
he take a
definitely
modded
need
one?
something.
So now
to
he has like a
stand
ton
on.
of games on there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, one of his
Yeah.
modded.
I still want the Star Wars one. That's my goal, is to get the Star Wars one. So, all right. So, Rukari. So again, welcome. And is that a Forza shirt I see?
No, it's not. It's
No.
actually just
Oh,
a
okay.
blank
Oh,
Nike
okay,
shirt.
got it.
Nothing
All right.
crazy.
All right. It almost looked like the Forza logo from the top.
You know what? This is probably going to break a lot of people's hearts. My closet is and has been filled with nothing but gaming shirts because you'd always get them at conventions and whatnot. And I just cycle those things out like crazy because I don't know, man. It's tough. Like I try to keep as many gaming shirts as I can, and then eventually I'm like, I'm not wearing these. Why am I holding on to them? Let me get them to somebody who would actually wear them. So believe it or not, there's not as many shirts in there as I would like to have.
All right, well, we'll give you our addresses, and you can set it up. So, I mean, I got the Dreamcast today.
See,
But
that's legit. That's
yeah.
awesome.
This is
It's like I stopped getting swag at events, like all the giveaways and stuff that they throw out. No, I've been so done with that. I got so sick of caring. I was like, you know what? Somebody else can have it, and that sounds so spoiled of me. And sure, it is, but
coming
done.
home from an E3 and having to check another bag because you got all this stuff that you're you're either going to put on a shelf or throw away anyway. Except for the shirts. I amassed a ton, like you, I amassed a ton of these shirts, and a lot of them have somehow my body destroys shirts. Like I end up with holes in shirts that I have no idea about. So, but
I got a good friend from work. He's listening in right now. Jake Malloy. He's a fellow electrician of mine. So thanks for tuning in, buddy, and watching our show, man. I'm glad you could watch us.
That's awesome. So, all right. So we want to hear about the great personality of Rukari Austin. So we need your origin story, my friend. So how did
where you want to start? You want to start in the gaming industry?
Well, how did you find your way into that industry, and how did you what we could get into like what you started playing and stuff, but yeah, how'd you find your way in, and did it start with Xbox?
Yeah, it did, and it didn't start with Xbox. I mean, Xbox now is technically this brand that encompasses PC and the console, when in the day that I started working, Xbox was the console, and there was games for Windows Live. Was it called Windows Live or just games for Windows? I can't remember what. It still might have been Windows Live. That's like we're talking Age of Empires Online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was a tweet from Kristen Riley, who's now Kristen Booty, who's Matt Booty's wife. She was the community manager on Age of Empires. They lost a forum moderator, and they said, hey, she just tweeted out, I need a forum moderator, must be local. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I was volunteering with the Halo forums as a moderator, and we had just been mods for like a month. Like for a year, they had these things called community leaders, and we were just people in the community that weren't rude, really. Like we just interacted like nice folks on the forums, would host game nights and whatnot. So once they made us moderators, I toyed with that for about a month, and I saw that tweet, and I said, hey, I can do this. I feel like I've done this before. And I just didn't think anything of it. I got a DM the next day that, man, it's probably still in my inbox. It just said, are you going to send me your resume or not, you little shit? And mind you, Kristen and I had like a rapport. Like we would always joke about stuff online, though I had never met her. So I was like, yeah, I'll definitely do it. And I was like, oh man, this person actually wants my resume. So I scraped together what little resume I had. I was working at a mattress store at the time. Nice. My buddy owns a mattress chain up here. And so we were just helping him out and having fun. And I go in for an interview. And the only question she asked me is like, why do you want to work for me? I'm like, what? Everybody wants a job. Like nobody wants to not work. So, all right, well, she goes, here's the job then. And she starts listing out what the duties are. And I'm like, okay, well, when are you going to get to the interview? Like, when are you going to ask me questions? And she never did. The only thing that she really asked me throughout the rest of it was, have you ever moderated before? Yeah, I've done that. And that was it. So I go home, and you know how you go home and you're like, there's no way I got this. Like, that didn't feel anything like I thought it was going to be. There's no way. And like 20 minutes later, I get that phone call from that random number that I recognize as in town. though I don't know who it is. And I'm like, this has to be them. And I ended up working on the Age of Empires franchise. Started as somebody who moderated like in-game chat bots, and we were banning the bots that were selling gold and linking to phishing sites, and we handled the forums and whatnot. And then Kristen ended up leaving 3 weeks later. So they looked at each one of the forum mods and what we were doing, and they said, hey, can any of you guys write? Like, you guys have patch notes and stuff that come out every week. So I was like, I mean, I can. We all took a shot at one of them for the next few weeks until I got a new community manager. And so when the new CM came in, they saw that, she goes, yeah, you actually have a knack for writing. Do you want to do this, for us as we go on? I'm like, sure, why not? I'm like, it's all work. I don't mind. I'll do whatever. She goes, what do you know about social media and all that? And I was like, well, I know my social media. I don't know social media on behalf of a brand. She goes, great, I'll teach you that. She goes, I'll do the meetings. You do the forward-facing stuff. All right, cool, no big deal. So I basically became social media manager, we could say that, even though it was really just Twitter, Facebook, web, and forums. So fast forward through that, I just kept getting more and more random responsibilities. And then I ended up jumping around team to team. So after 10 months on Age of Empires, I worked for the Halo team as a community coordinator. And then I did about 7, 8, 9 months on the Halo team. And I went over to the Xbox social team. That was boring as hell. That one was not fun. That was when @Xbox on Twitter started tweeting back to people. And I was like, man, I've been doing this like a year and a half. Like, there were people in there struggling, like, what do I write back? And I was like, we game, they game. Just talk to them about games. So that lasted 3 weeks, and then I ended up jumping into the XBLA team, the Xbox Live Arcade team. And this was 2013. So, yeah, at this point, I had been doing it almost 2 years. And it was right before, it was called Newcastle, the Xbox One reveal. It was right then.
Right.
So I jumped on that team, and I was working on World of Tanks right before it launched for the 360. And then at the same time, we were prepping for Power Star Golf, Crimson Dragon, and Killer Instinct. And those were where I kind of found my first home. I would stay on that team from 2013 to 2018. And I would work on a bunch of titles that we had through there. It wasn't like ID at Xbox where everything came through that one vein. It used to be that way, but it was first-party published games that were smaller in nature. Not to say they were AA or single A, but yeah, kind of were. So the KIs, the Power Star Golf, Crimson Dragon, Ori and the Blind Forest was one of the first ones. What was Max? Max and the Curse of the Brotherhood?
Max and the Curse of the Brotherhood.
Brotherhood, right.
Yeah, Max and the Curse of the Brotherhood. Those type of titles. So I worked on a handful of those for a few years, and then last year I was on the Xbox Live, or the Xbox marketing team, who in reality was a video production team that was handling Inside Xbox and all that. So somewhere in there, somebody figured out you're doing well with stuff on camera, and I guess this is a whole different segue, but I got tasked to do the E3 bit, and that sort of launched the whole other stage stuff, and that's a story in and of itself, but I've been rambling, so I'm gonna let you get another question.
No. So this,
That's good
see,
stuff.
and again, this isn't, we're not trying to interview you. We're really interested in this stuff because, it's neat to see. Look, I come from an age where I wrote on a website. We didn't have social media. We didn't have YouTube. I had to store videos on a server. So this is really fascinating. And when I was coming up in game journalism, when I was kind of getting out of it, G4 TV was kind of blowing up on the scene. So now, now there's so many things out there that can do, so many ways to do these kind of shows that can reach so many people. I'm really interested in, the sort of the behind the scenes of Inside Xbox.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take you through that then. So I would
Super
do video
Cooper
updates.
Super Cooper says this is next level rambling. So you are you are square.
So that means I'm okay, right?
You are
That's
good.
next level's where I want to be.
You got Super Cooper's if you got his approval, you are good.
And it's interesting because you know how nowadays you have a lot of us gamers, a lot of people, young people who, of course, love the game, but then they're also involved in social media, on Twitter and all that. So like you, how you got your start with, because I've been in forums too before, social media, Twitter and all that. So I it interacting with people and not everybody can do it, and so
it's weird.
just,
That's weird to me because I'm so used to that being the way of life. Like, my friends are, big mouths like me. We've never been shy. We're definitely the people that have no problem controlling a room, controlling a crowd. I didn't know that was a tangible skill. So that I guess that goes into the next bit where we were doing we were doing patch notes for Killer Instinct, and we would always get these lovely written out patch notes that were super in depth and super technical. And I said, hey, well, what about the person like me that just wants to get the high level view? So we would figure out how to break those out, and it started with video. And I was like, I don't have to know what you're saying here to say it. Like, I can just say, hey, we changed the frame data on this character to this for this move. So we started doing that, and I don't know if they just got used to me or whatever, but eventually the KI team said, hey, we're going to put you on stage for E3. And I was like, all right, cool. Right. And they looked at me like, what do you mean, all right, cool? And I was like, yeah, that's no big deal. I was like, first of all, I said something ignorant. I was like, sounds like y'all need a black dude. And to break up the show. And it was funny, my marketing manager, her name was Nicole Fawcett. She was like, yeah, because they asked me because I'm a woman. She's like, I just don't want to be up in front of that crowd. And I was like, all right, no big deal. Crowds don't scare me. So I remember we got into rehearsals and whatnot. And I was sitting there with Shannon Loftus because she was the head of Microsoft Studios at the time. And Shannon says to me, she's like, oh, I'm so nervous. And we were doing the rehearsals. There were multiple levels. The first one that I had to do, we had to read the script in front of about 15, 20 people. That scared the hell out of me because I was like, man, nobody's going to like it. And they can argue back with you on how you said your thing. The second set of rehearsals, after they moved everything around, and this is like a week or two later, after we've done all these table reads, we did it live in front of like this pitch black room. It was actually the Inside Xbox stage, or that sound stage, but not the stage setup. And in front of you were all these tables, and you couldn't see because the lights were shining on you, but you could see the glow from their laptops hit their face. But nobody was looking at what you were doing. They were looking just down and taking like just notes super quick. And so we did that one. And I was like, I didn't remember any of this. And they were like, well, sorry, you don't have a prompter, just go. And that was scary too. But I told Shannon beforehand, she said, does any of this make you nervous? And I was like, Shannon, like, I grew up in the hood, like middle-aged, well-affluent people all their life been telling me how well-spoken I am. Like, this is not going to be tough. And so I got out of there, and she's like, well, where'd you learn how to do this? I was like, I don't know. It's just always been there. So when we got to the stage, that was easy because the thousands of people that were in the Galen Center, and this is before it was at the Microsoft Theater, they're just looking at you like this. Like, they're all excited to be there. So we knocked that one out, and I was a contractor at the time. And I kid you not, this sounds so horrible, and it's so bad to think of Microsoft this way, but I think they realize sometimes what they have almost too late. Like, they were like, oh shit, somebody's going to snatch him up. I hate to pull the minority card, but I'm sure they were like, we can't let him go. We got to use him for more. So I had a full-time employee offer 3 weeks later. Yeah. So then I joined the team officially, and it kept going as normal. And I think it was about a year later, this is where the videos really kicked off. I just got a random message that said, hey, would you like to help with the live stream on Sunday? My initial reaction was, hell no, I'm not coming in on Sunday to help y'all out. Like, y'all can miss me with that. But you got to play the game right. And I was like, hey, will you send me some details on what the project is? So basically I can make up a nice way to say no. And they sent me I thought it was just like a little Xbox live stream. And if you see their channel when it's not inside Xbox, only like 50 people watching. I was like, unless y'all really need help, I'm not coming in. And he said, yeah, no big deal. Anyway, it's this Sunday down in LA with the cast of the Fast and the Furious, and we'd love to have you host. And I said, whoa, fuck, we need that. Yes, what? You need me to go to LA and y'all are paying? Oh, I'm gone. So we did this, 7-hour live stream, and it was great with the cast there. And that really kicked everything off. I met this guy who was on the pop culture and lifestyle team, and he said, man, you did great. Would you like to do more? I'm like, yeah, sure. Think of me whenever you can. I appreciate it. And I thought they were just going to write me off. Like, when would I ever get to do these celebrity interviews and such again? And the next week I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico for the Hot Air Balloon Festival. And we played Super Lucky's Tale at close to 1,000 feet and set a Guinness World Record. And then right after that, like a couple of days later, I got an email that just said, don't want to stretch the friendship butt. And it was a PowerPoint deck that had, and I remember there was a slide that had like the road to Xbox One X and about 15 different events. And I saw The Rock. I saw like Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving. You know, we had the Vin Diesel, Ronda Rousey bit. And I was like, well, which ones do you need help for? And he's Australian, dude. And he goes, mate, I don't have a host for any. Sadly, I was working on Crackdown 3 at the time, and I knew it was delayed. So I said to my boss, I was like, hey, can I go do this? And she came. She had a television background, and she was like, yep, bye, see ya. So for 3-4 weeks, I was just on the road back to back to back. Ended up in New York. We did the Xbox One X launch, and I got to help with that. And then they started that Inside Xbox bit, which takes me all the way to now. So it's been I couldn't tell you how it started other than somebody asking me if you wanted to come help. Like, it was nothing I was shooting for or trying to pursue. It just fell into my lap, and I would say I'm lucky, but I get the luck favors the prepared, but I don't feel like I was prepared for that. It just happened.
That's awesome. I mean, to have it, so as you're saying, I just, was just asked to help one day. It just reminds me, I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie UHF, the one Weird Al Yankovic movie out there. And that's, this reminds me of a show that the guy came out and just handed a microphone to a guy, said, you want to do the show? And he was like, yeah, and walked in, and next thing you know, he's a star. And there you are. There's Rukari.
That was really it. But
That's
it was
really
funny
cool.
thinking, like, again, I never knew I was good at it. And it still throws me off when people say, yeah, I love the way you speak up there. Because in my head, I'm just talking. Like, and I think that's a strong suit. So I made that, Major Nelson crack earlier. Because I love watching him turn it on. Because he's got 30 years of broadcast in him. Right? He's very prim and proper. And there was a point where I was going to quit Inside Xbox because I felt like I couldn't be him. And it wasn't until I went to E3 that year and somebody ran up to me and was like, hey, man, what shoes did you bring with you? And I was like, shoes?
You need the white gloves, Rukari.
Yeah, well, he was like, yeah, I love watching Inside Xbox. You always got a different pair of shoes. And don't get me wrong, it was also a black dude. So he was like, it's so good to see somebody that's like us up there and you don't try to be like them. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm looking at this all wrong. Like, maybe I shouldn't try to be them. I felt bad because if you remember the first few episodes of Inside Xbox, I was off at the side table and I was talking shit. Like, I was sitting there and I was cracking jokes and we were live looking at Twitter and responses and making fun of things that happened in the show. And I used to feel horrible about that because I'm like, man, Larry, Jeff, and Graham, they get to talk about news and everybody loves what they say. And then I'm over here shucking and jiving while we set up the next thing.
Right.
And then I realized that had value. And like, Larry can't do that. So I go, oh, maybe that's right where I fit.
Well,
like,
that's
maybe
just
that's
it.
exactly where I fit.
That's just it. I mean, Larry is good at a lot of things, but let's just say his comedic delivery.
He's funny. Hey, don't get me wrong. He's funny. I think he has just I don't want to say the word noose. He has such a tight leash from being, I mean, he was the guy in 2005, right? When the 360 launched, or even before that, when there was all this stuff that Xbox needed, when community management wasn't a thing. And he kicked all that off. He found that path and created it. And now I think his website generates, I'm sure, millions of dollars in revenue. And I think it's probably just searched as Xbox.com. And I think he's become too big of a beast. And so I would not like to be him because I'm sure that, PR and everybody has a tight watch on anything and everything that he says. I'm surprised he got away with the beard.
Yeah. It's gone though.
I know it's gone.
That
I saw
didn't last very long.
Yeah,
No.
I think he put up a poll and people say, "Oh no, I think his wife said."
Yeah, his wife said no. Wife said no.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew him when he was the program director for Xbox Live. He handed me, he handed me my my 360 faceplate. At that E3. So and I'd be standing in line outside the the doors for the press conference, he'd be walking back and forth. He'd, every once in a while he'd give you a little elbow or something, and just because, and he's gotten to. I think the problem is he's gotten so big that it's got to be hard for him to have to be the guy everybody looks at. I mean, he is kind of the face that everybody seems to know. And it's the natural evolution of what happened to him,
Yeah.
So, but I think you said something that, because I remember watching those first couple of Inside Xboxes and kind of chuckling with you guys over the side, because it's not so much that you weren't doing what they were doing or you weren't being like them. It's a presence. And what it did was those little jokes and stuff broke what a lot of people thought was just kind of like a straight-laced, news. Like you said, they were up there doing the news. And it gave a little bit of flavor to the show. And I think that's what a lot of us enjoyed about it, is that there was a little bit of that little comic relief, that little bit of something different that kind of that gave the show, it just kind of moved it in kind of like, trying to think of the right words to use.
I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah,
how it's almost at different strokes for different folks. It was, you can't sit there the entire, even the news, as drowsy as it is, always has something that's like the lighter side, or Eric's little heroes, or little right. breaks and anecdotes, and it was still weird to think about in that, because Larry was the guy, and I was always looking at him like that. So how do I put this? I loved doing the live interviews. I shouldn't say I hated Inside Xbox, but I hated how produced it was. Everything went through 37 iterations. Everything was so wound up and tight. And okay, Rukari, you're going to do the Phil interview. And no shit, when we would do a Phil interview, there'd be 5 or 6, 7 different people in the room, watching what he said. And
I believe it.
Which is funny, because he's the head. He's the guy who should be able to say whatever the hell he wants.
But, people have to keep people in line, and I get that. But I love and I understand, and the way I grew up is you got to be able to punch yourself or take a punch. And Xbox can't do that. Not one bit. I mean, my closest group of friends and I, we talk mess about one another all the time. So anytime I would try and say something about Inside Xbox that was a dig at ourselves, they'd be like, we can't do that. And I don't know, it's going to sound horrible. My style has always been lax in that I don't care. And maybe that's what's come across to everyone else. It's like, when I would do the celebrity interviews, I got lucky that I grew up around a bunch of athletes who went on to play professional sports, and that started at a young age. So I think I realized that they're all just stupid kids, like I'm a stupid kid. So when I looked at interviews, they're like, well, what'd you do to prep? And I'm like, nothing. I'm going to just go talk to them about playing video games. Like, what? The hell? What do you mean prep? And so I look at Inside Xbox the same way. Larry would do we would do our table reads and all this stuff. And I'm like, so I have no lines, and you guys just want me to make fun of stuff on Twitter? Yeah. Okay, great. We'll do it. We'll knock it out. But Inside Xbox struggles with that. And that's why it's fun to watch it now without being on it. Because I definitely wasn't involved with the last one at all. And I want to see it do well. I still don't think it's in the right spot. I still want to see it be able to just be fun. Do you remember the Outside Xbox guys? The old Inside Xbox team that got laid?
I remember them.
I love their stuff. Have you watched it? It's sent you a message. You remember that, where they're giving you great information, but in a fun, cheeky couch style. I just want to see Xbox get to that point, and I think that's what carried me through. But it's almost apathetic sounding, but I love being able to poke fun at ourselves. I would make little comments about reading Reddit during shows and say, "Yeah, no, I get it. You guys don't like how we do this." And Ryan Trite would come up to me. He's like, "Hey, we shouldn't really take shots at ourselves." I'm like, "Why not? Because they're doing it. Well, let's join in. Let's join in."
No, you're right. I mean, you brought that natural the way, the rest of everybody else, people that are watching, it's not all about just older gamers. You got a lot of young people too. You got a lot of different people that all have different backgrounds. You got to be able to relate. And so, inside Xbox for a long time, that's the message that people see is that they feel like it's just stale. It's just a one tone type of deal. So bringing you in and others in, it kind of breaks up that tone. Like you said, y'all are there joking around, and you got AC bongos and Major still down that same level. AC is kind of fun though.
He's fun. He's got puns, and I can't stand him. His wordplay is insane. Like his wordplay is phenomenal, top notch.
But like a lot of us, we love Major, but we want to see him kind of step aside and let you and others come in and kind of bring it to to where it relates more to the times.
I don't think Xbox is ready for that. I mean, first of all, I'm not even there, and I haven't heard from that team. So the Inside Xbox team is my old team. I haven't heard from them since November. Like, I don't even know if I'll ever be back on an Inside Xbox. I know what they were planning for Inside Xbox before the COVID-19 stuff happened, and they were looking at shaking stuff up, but I know I wasn't involved. So hopefully I want to see that too. Hopefully. I don't necessarily mean it needs to be me. And I don't necessarily think Larry needs to go. I always feel bad when I say his name because I never want it to be me picking on him, but what he represents.
The big face,
Yeah, I gave him shit on Twitter the other day without tagging him, but there was a Reddit thread that popped up where somebody said, caught Major Nelson in the strip club in GTA 5. And it was just a screenshot of him because you spawn in the strip club sometimes. And so he came into the thread because everybody was just laughing. And we're all stuck at home. We can laugh at silly stuff like that. And he came into the thread and said, all right, Norton, settle down now, gang. That's just where Trevor spawned when I played. And I was like, this dude could not be more out of... I was so livid because I would be the type to make a joke about it. I'm like, well, man, hopefully Xbox puts shark cards back on sale because I'm, clear out of cash. And anybody who knows that shark cards are on sale every other week, so then you show credibility because you know that sale is silly. Oh, but I don't know.
Nero said he saw that thread. I heard about it, but I didn't really.
Oh, hey, I know De Niro. How you doing? I know that name.
Yeah, he said he said hello earlier. And how did we get such a distinguished guest?
Distinguish my ass. But no, I felt bad because
oh no, Doomhammer said that because I said we wouldn't get a real distinguished guest until we had him on. So
gotcha.
But
I felt bad because I was picking on him. But I do think something's got to change. I'm not saying he's got to leave, but maybe he's got to leave. I shouldn't say that out loud because I think he does wonderful stuff. But man, they always tell you when you work in a corporate environment like that, hold a project for at most 2.5 years. And then let that thing go to somebody else for new ideas.
Yeah. So this is nothing new. I have nothing that I haven't said before. Again, I have a lot of respect for Larry and what he did and what he does, and he does have to get out in front of people. I know people make fun of his there was that GIF that was out there of him at one of the Xbox One Microsoft Store events where he was smiling and then he just went real serious and people thought it was the meme of get me out of here and I think some of that gets overblown and he's got to be the face for millions of people for the Xbox brand, and it's just like I said, it's his natural evolution. But what I think has happened is, and this is just my opinion, I think what's happened is that's also hardened him up a bit. And he does sometimes come across a little more terse towards people than...
Oh, you think he comes up to... Oh, that's interesting. I would have never guessed that.
I see it. I've seen it a few times, and those kind of, it just... I don't think he does it on purpose. I just think he carries a lot of weight on his shoulders trying to help drive the Xbox brand. Now, to Phil's credit, Phil is trying to pull a lot of that weight now too. You see him all over the place. You see him on every podcast but ours, and we're trying. Trust me, I DM him once in a while. But I think that after
Did you ever see Phil talk though? Phil always looks like he just got out of the shower,
Dude,
or like he just got done using the bathroom.
Dude,
his shoulders are all relaxed, and he's always like,
He does.
He looks like
very chill.
He looks like he just came from the gym, though. I mean, he's all, if you saw, like he's out there like
maybe he's doing push-ups before you see him.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Oh, actually, I got a fun story for you for the little derail.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Phil, it's Papa Phil, like it's the ex-boss, whatever you want to call him. He's not somebody that you'd be afraid of on campus, but there definitely are those moments of, oh shit, like there's Phil. And so, kid you not, a week after E3, and I didn't even know he knew my name, but we had talked a bunch at E3, and obviously we were all in the same room getting ready for the stage presentations. And so after I did my 2016 on stage bit, we're back at campus, and he's walking with a group of 4 people, and it looks like a business meeting. Like, I don't know who these people are. And he literally stops himself mid-sentence and goes, oh my God, you guys, I'm so sorry. That's Rukari. He was on stage at E3. I got to get his autograph. And I just remember being shocked. Because I was like, motherfucker, like, what do I do? How you going to throw me under the bus like this? And he totally razzed me. He got me. So I was like, I got to get him back. So we were, there's a player that plays Killer Instinct, and he plays a lot of other games too. His name is Ben. He goes by the tag Sightless Combat because he is blind. And he helped a lot with KI, tweaking the sound and the audio design so he plays the game just strictly off of audio cues, and can get through the Xbox guide and the UI and everything without being able to see it.
Wow.
So Ben was in for a visit, and we're talking with him, and Phil walks up, and Phil does this little walk with his chest puffed out. And I was on the way to a basketball tournament, but I knew Ben was coming in, so I'm in like shorts and a tank top. And Phil said something about me, and he tried to get me again. And he said, look at you, man, muscles. And mind you, I'm 6'4", Phil's not. We'll say that nicely. And and I said, Phil, man, I'm trying to get like you so I can walk around with my chest out. And he stumbled, and he was like, And I was like, yeah, got your ass back. Yeah, hey, so sorry to derail, but back to the original point.
No.
Phil's relaxed, super relaxed. He's a genuine dude. I think Larry was... remember back in I even think we're moving out of the customer is always right, but do you remember back in the days of salesmen, it was always the hard pitch, almost like the car salesman guy?
Yeah.
And Larry does this with Crazy Larry. I think he's still stuck in that. So I think he's always on. My favorite moment of Larry's was before I even worked at Xbox. We were at the Halo ODST truck tour, and I was first in line for it. That was always my claim to fame. I was the kid that would camp out overnight to be first in line. And Larry did an Inside Xbox segment back when Inside Xbox was like a 15-minute weekly or whatever show. And he couldn't get his lines right. And I remember I heard him cuss, and he cussed a lot because he was messing up. And it was like the first time you heard somebody at church cuss, like the old lady that you thought was always prim and proper, and she, under her breath, said a bunch of shit about the pastor that you didn't know. And I remember being like, oh my God, this dude's cool as hell. And then he would always go back to his on-camera stuff. So I know what he's capable of. And I think it just kills me inside to watch the up front. I get he's got the pressure, the millions of eyes. I think the world has shifted, and the Xbox community and fan base and target demographic has shifted to where if somebody says something to him, he can just be real. And maybe that is the real him now. Maybe I'm just stuck on something that he's not. But I would just love to see that from Xbox as a whole, not just Larry, but as they go forward.
You've heard their podcast, right? When he does his podcast, and I enjoyed listening to that. I think it sounds very natural the way he interacts with the others on his podcast, and
because he's great. That's how to start.
But I don't see that same on the show live from him.
But that's because of the higher ups and the messages that they want to get across. And Lord forbid we have Kareem Chowdhury in the Project xCloud team, because again, 20 people are in there making sure they don't stumble and say the wrong lines. And So I don't want to say I place that squarely on his shoulders. He just is the face. But I think the face can be, you don't have to be Cliffy B levels of troll, but you can definitely be relaxed. You can be you.
Well,
And I think that goes a long way with people now. And they can see through the BS. Like they can see when you're being your persona or when you're being you.
and I think that's what's happened. And again, I feel bad because again, I'm not. I do have a lot of respect for him, and look, he's been there forever, and you know, there's a reason for that. You know what he has done for Xbox from that perspective. You know, has a lot of capital to it. But there comes a time where you're right. You got to kind of figure out what direction. You have to look at your audience. You have to you know, as a musician, we call it, you have to play the room. And
Oh yeah, sure.
you know, and I don't know that he does that as well as other people do. Phil plays the room. You got maybe we get some little inside scoop on Phil, a little more inside scoop on Phil from you. I mean, look, there are things I have always kind of complained about that Xbox has done in the pursuit of getting, you know, I'm not necessarily I love my Xbox. I've been an Xbox gamer since the beginning, but I don't feel as much a part of that community anymore because, you know, I was part of the 2013 crowd. Like, I was all in on that original plan you guys had, and I was all in on Connect, and I've watched Phil, I've come to terms that this is what he had to do to get the overarching base, but he's kind of torn away the things that made Xbox special to me. Now, it doesn't mean it's not special to other people, and there's enough people out, you know, for every one of me that loved Kinect, there's 100 people that hated it. But, you know, and now, you know, thinking that the Xbox One Series X doesn't, you know, is going to lose the HDMI in, which I still literally on my X use today for a number of things, whether it's, you know, streaming my my Dreamcast console, which I still can't get through my my Elgato correctly, or my TV. You know, upstairs we have our original Xbox One with the Kinect, where my wife still to this day turns on our stuff by saying Xbox on. So I mean, I was, you know, playing games like Dead Rising 3, where if you made a sound, the zombies would find you. Or I remember a friend of mine who had
Halo. Lightning bolt.
Yes. or playing NBA 2K, and if you cussed, you got a technical foul.
God.
I mean, stuff like that was
Number one, though, all those dance games. How can you dance without a camera?
Fantasia was. I mean,
Fantasia, yeah.
I played Fantasia with my kids for hours, and they played stuff like Zoo Tycoon, and watching my kids who weren't really big gamer kids at the time, you know, using the Kinect to feed the elephants and all this stuff. I mean, this was where I was, and you know, Phil's chipped away that stuff in pursuit of gaining back the bigger market share, and I've come to terms with it. But on the other end of that spectrum, while from a professional standpoint I haven't agreed with everything he's done, I see him on stage, I see him in these interviews. Personally, I would love to have him here one night to talk to him, because what I do get from him, and I think what we all get from him, is that he is as real as it gets.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I'm not somebody who would get starstruck by him, because I don't get starstruck by heads of, CEOs and things like that. And I feel like that would be an advantage, because we could talk to him as a gamer, and we could talk to him as a person, and he would be relaxed and you know, kind of easy to talk to about the state of Xbox, the state of gaming, and so I mean, does that kind of fit what he is in real life?
Yeah, from what I've seen, because I would say that it's not necessarily about, you know, Larry has a persona, an at work and a not, or an on camera and not. And I think that I probably to a point do as well. I mean, shit, I code switch all the time. I came from a very different world that wasn't corporate. Phil, I think, is that person. So I think the answers that you would get, while still probably shrouded in a bit of mystery, maybe not as much hyperbole, but I think that's just really him talking. And I think that's the advantage that he has, is that, like you mentioned, people believe him, or they want to believe him based on his body language, how he's talking to you, how he's maintaining eye contact, how he's not sing-songy at the end of his sentences. So whether or not he's genuine, you believe that he is, and therefore he is. So I don't know if he is or not, but I will agree with you in that I've felt like everything that he's ever said to me has been totally genuine. Like he's not being somebody he's not. So I don't know what his answers would be or how much he would dance around. He's probably got them so rehearsed that it is just him. But I think that's the difference, is Phil shines through. It's not Xbox Live's, P3.
Right.
He's Phil. Everybody calls him Phil.
And I do respect that. Right.
Yeah.
So, Chris in the chat said, Xbox told me it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
Bye. So, and look, there are, while I, I'm over here in kind of a different area, there are the things that he has done as the head of Xbox that have really turned that ship around from 2013. That we've done the live streams of the conferences, so we'll do the live reaction shows and stuff. And when he was starting to announce new studios, right, that year that the year Xbox brought in Compulsion and those guys, and we were like, all right, yeah, Compulsion, yeah, okay, Playground Games, we knew that was coming. That was not a surprise. And then he pulled it. Then he pulled out of his jacket Ninja Theory, and we all went berserk. I mean, the whole show just went, because that is what he's bringing to Xbox. Is he's kind of bringing the respect level from development, from third party, from all those people that kind of walked away from Don Matrick for one reason or another, are walking back to Xbox because of Phil. And one of the things that I noticed from this particular Inside Xbox, Xbox is finally getting Hotline Miami, and that's a game that they've been, Xbox gamers have been asking for a while. And at the very beginning, that was one of the studios before Chris Charla and that team got together, that really blasted Microsoft as a development studio. I mean, that just was never gonna, and it really hurt them from a reputation standpoint. And now here they are bringing their game out, an entire collection out. That ship has turned a lot.
And I don't know what happens at that level or what he's really doing, but I get it's all a necessity. I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and Bill Stillwell was on it. You familiar with Bill? Yeah?
Yeah. Which podcast
Bill
are you talking about?
What was it? Oh, my God. Dealer Gaming.
Okay.
His weekly one. And Bill had said something along the lines of, hey, look, we can put all sorts of tech and things that we think that people would want to, but sometimes the world is just not ready or willing to accept those changes.
Yep.
To accept those things. I'm not saying Kinect was perfect or ahead of its time or anything like that. I'm just saying that, maybe the world wasn't in the right spot. It's funny. I still see Kinect cameras all the time, and not where you would think. I go to this, it's literally a basketball training facility. This guy, Rodney Stuck, he used to be in the NBA. He created a gym, and he actually franchised the gym. It was created elsewhere. And this gym has multiple courts where they have like shooting cages, passing cages, a full court bit, and it tracks and it keeps score for you, and it does all this stuff, reads your misses, your makes, where you shot on the court. And if you look up, it is a goddamn Kinect that's looking down at you and recording that info. So I think of things, and don't get me wrong, I have no idea what the original plans for game sharing or anything of the likewise. But it's funny that now that almost seems like normal.
Right.
Yeah, I want digital. But back then, when you gave the idea of digital games and only digital, and you're going to take away retail, and you're going to make your retail partners mad, and PlayStation comes out with an ad that just says, this is how you share games on PlayStation, it's like we've almost hit all that stuff that was originally talked about or that was, in the ethos as rumor. Mm-hmm. And we're hitting it now, not because of anything that Xbox said or did, but because they gave it time to come to fruition.
Right.
I mean, even look at at the microphone in Kinect. People's like, oh, it's always listening. Well, and then you had the Alexas, your Google Homes, and then now your PlayStation controller has a microphone array in it, and now people don't give it a second thought anymore. So I think they are slightly ahead of their time. I mean, they introduce stuff, and people are not 100% ready, or they don't know what they will get.
Yeah. So I don't know if Phil's necessarily taking things away, or more so, somebody's got to be the face that's reading the market that's just saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing." And I guarantee it's not just him.
Look, I get the fact that I'm in a way aging out of that, because it's everything that I used, that I bought the Xbox for.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
Kinect, the HDMI in, which apparently is going away, the split screen, and some of us were going, well, at least give us picture in picture, because I really did watch football while I played something, and it just, just felt like, I feel like, yes, they need to make it a games machine and that kind of thing, but it's in a way to the expense of some of us older guys who really were into that original. Like it's funny you mentioned, things coming to fruition now, because now how many games are online only? How many games require an online connection of some sort for you to play?
Even single player games,
Yeah, you can't play your Game Pass stuff if you're not connected to the internet. There's that check-in when you start a game. You have to check that thing in, like the library. And so,
oh God, and Adam Orth. Oh, that tweet.
I
was
know.
So bad. And that's where I realized not everyone can talk publicly. And I was like, you can't say that.
Nope. Just like Don can't say, if you live in a submarine, we got a console for you. I got what he was saying. I totally understood what the point he was making, but that was the wrong time to say that. And things like that didn't help. What was your and De Niro asked this. What was your kind of your take and your feelings about the whole 2013 piece and the feedback that you guys were getting? Because Phil always said that it hurt to hear some of those things, and the team really took it personally. What was your, how did you feel about?
It's going to sound horrible. Did not care. I was getting it. That whatever they displayed, I was excited about. So this is not to say I didn't have ownership over the Xbox team. I knew I was on certain projects. You think about it all the time, and then you start to get into comparisons of a game like KI, which had to be boosted to run at 900p. I think it originally was at like 748. So yeah, you hear those things. I'm so both jaded and immune to like the words that come from social. I don't know. I've seen it so much that I realize it's just there. And when I worked at T-Mobile when I'm 18 years old, and I remember them teaching us there that people do not come back to you to give praise. They come back to complain. So whenever we would get those surveys, they were generally going to be negative. And somebody said it to me. They're like, think about it. You go to, Taco Bell 100 times and they get your order right 99 times. You're not going to think twice about it. But that one time they mess up and they don't give you your order properly, that's going to stick in your head for forever.
Yep.
So anyway, looking at that, I wasn't in any sort of position to make a change or to even suggest a change. I was just kind of along for the ride. So it didn't bother me. I was getting one and I got one. And I used the features that people were griping about and I played the games. That sounds so, again, like I don't care, but I really don't. I'm going to care about the things that I want to care about. I like it. I'll get it. Yeah, that was it. probably not the answer you were looking for. But
No,
yeah,
well,
that's
no,
really
but
how
no,
I
no,
said
but
it.
That's
it's
a good
okay.
answer because that's the way it should be. A lot of these gamers get way too overboard and too passionate or fanboyish, and they
Yeah.
just forget that it's all about the games.
And people have to be told what to like, how to like it, etc. I mean, that's also why we have Metacritic. If it doesn't get a 9, it's a bad game. Bad game. I'm enjoying this 6.5 rated game like more than
And that's what throws me
anything.
off. Is there have been games that I picked up that I'm like, this is horrible, and I can't stop playing it. It's so good.
Yeah.
John, we were really kidding earlier when we said you talked a lot.
Sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
letting
okay.
Rukari have the floor tonight. Well, you know me as well. I like you, Mike, when the Xbox 2013, I liked a lot of the original concepts.
Yeah. Too.
And my thing, I've always liked my Xbox. Now I've kind of moved away from the brand over the years. And there have been several reasons for that. And, but I still, like I said, I believe in being fair to everybody. Like I've had some instances on Twitter, like I'm not I don't mind social media. I love talking. I love getting out in the public. I'm not shy at all. The problem you have today, though, is if you get on social media and you say something, even if you speak the truth, people won't admit it. But if I say something about Xbox or if I say something about PlayStation, all of a sudden, man, people just their heart gets broken. I can't even. Sometimes it's hard because I feel like I can't even be honest at times because people are so guarded about the brand that they like. You can't even give them and you guys know me. I don't go after people. Like there's people on Twitter that go after Xbox guys daily. And they're like, or they go after PlayStation guys, and it's just back and forth. A guy like me, I'll come on, I'll give an honest opinion. I'll just state what's on my mind because like Rukari, I don't care. I've been gaming for 38, 39 years. I know what I'm talking about. So when I say something, a lot of people it's more of a constructive thing. I will never belittle Xbox fans. I don't think that's right. I mean, if your brand's the PlayStation and you like that, you can be proud of that without making fun of Xbox. And if your brand's Xbox, you can be proud of that. But it's like when the controller came up, the new PlayStation controller. When I first saw it, I was all excited because we really hadn't seen much on the console. So I saw the controller. So I make a tweet about how I like it. And instantly, people are triggered because within 10 seconds, they're tweeting you back. And it's not because it bothers them. They won't admit it, but it bothers them that you like something different. And
How dare you not like what I do?
Right. And I just what I'm saying is I treat people like I want to be treated. I can still make honest comments because none of these companies are perfect. They all make mistakes. I really like Phil Spencer. I've liked him. He just seems like a nice guy. Of course, I never had any problem with Don Matrick either because the 360 was very successful. You could argue that the 360 era was just as successful or more successful than the Xbox One era. But I guess what I'm getting at is like, you make a comment and people just don't know how to accept things. But I will never belittle somebody. If you like Nintendo, you ought to be proud of that. And if somebody's excited, like, when they announced the Xbox and they showed the tower, what the console was going to look like, you didn't see me get online and make fun of it. You didn't see me, there were pictures of it that had it like a log in a fireplace, burning and all kinds of bull crap, and stuff like that. And some of them were kind of funny, but I'm not that type of guy. So as much as I love social media, I don't like it at the same time because anymore it's just all this back and forth fanboy stuff. And like I said, I'm 47 years old. And a guy like me is just more like to the point. So some of these guys, I honestly don't know how they find time to stay on Twitter that long and terrorize people. I mean,
Wait.
I'm seriously, some of these guys, and they'll say, oh, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. No, it's not a joke. You're doing it for a reason. You're either an influencer You're doing it to get followers for yourself, but you're not being very genuine. And I think older gamers like me, we can see right through that. They're like Rukari said, you can tell when somebody's talking if they're real or if they're putting on this persona. And you can see these guys on Twitter, and they're just doing it for popularity. But it kind of gets old.
Did you see the fridge photo though? Did you see that one?
Yeah.
And did you see Xbox actually put out the Series X compared to the fridge? Oh, see,
Yes.
that's what I mean about being able to make fun of yourself.
Well, so here's what Xbox. So look, if Xbox really wants to get serious with its Twitter feed, they need to hire whoever runs the Wendy's feed. Because Wendy's,
you got to just let Wendy's be Wendy's.
I mean,
you can't try to be them.
That Twitter feed is the greatest. Like I follow it just to see what they say to other people, but.
Yeah.
I've had Xbox respond to me before. Some of that stuff is, you got to be genuine. So whatever you said to them, I mean, you just got to be genuine.
Well, and it's not even who you follow, too. Sometimes the people you follow, we all have our evil friends, what I put in my evil category. Like you might be a friend to somebody that's on your friends list, but you don't really agree with what they're your like evil friend. You don't unfollow them because you know what I mean? So like De Niro said, well, maybe John's following the wrong people. No, because I follow a lot of different people. A lot of people follow me. Eventually, they're going to follow somebody that, you got your crap gamers, you got this, and I'm not good. I hate throwing out names, but you just got people out there that constantly cause trouble, and I kind of, man, I'm old school. I miss the old days like Mike. You just get your console, you'd have your Nintendo Power magazine. Like I said, the days, sometimes simplicity is the best. And like Xbox, this generation, that's one thing that they've done that I will give them kudos for. Their message is more simplistic. Before it was a little more confused. Now they're just to the point. This is our console. This is what it does. This is our studios. These are our games. They've simplified it. There's not this talk about 15 billion transistors and this and that like at the 2013 launch that was just a disaster. They've cleaned that up. They showed a nice looking console. They flat out told what they're going to do with their studios they've got, and it's much more cleaned up. And I think the message is much more clear. So I have to.
The message was clear in 2013. It was just a bad message. There was a super cut that came out, and we all watched it. I think they said TV like 37 times,
right?
And they only mentioned games, the word games, like 10. It was
when you talk about transistors, like most gamers. All right,
so here,
even though we know. Oh, go ahead.
Hold on. Here I come to the defense of Xbox. So I gotta stop because they did that with the Xbox 360 reveal. I know what they were trying to do. They used the reveal to not talk about the game stuff because they were saving that for E3. Where I think they made that mistake, and I've said this for years, is they knew what Sony was gonna do. They might not have known the last minute pricing, but I think they knew that they were gonna have to, like, all Matrick had to do was walk out on stage and say, listen, this is where we are. Don't worry about the used, because the used games thing was really the thing that if you remember Sony's conference and Jack Trenton out there, and he said, and we love used games. And that's all he had to say. And Rukari, you pointed to that video. If Matrick and whoever else came out on stage had enough of their shit together that he could walk out and say, look, we are not trying to scare you into not selling your games on eBay. We are going to make sure that you can buy games the same way you've always bought games, that we're not cutting anybody off. And by the way, we have this incredible, because of what we're doing, we have this incredible sharing program. They should have had that ready. Because what happened was they let the internet and they let Sony define Xbox before Xbox could define itself. They defined the Xbox One without even saying the word Xbox One, and by the time Sony's conference was over, everyone thought the Xbox One was something that it might not have even have been, and that's where that's where you got the submarine debacle from. That's where you got the Angry Joe and Larry on camera thing. And you got one person saying one thing, and then Larry saying something else on the show floor, and the whole thing just went to hell. And then Matrick had to come out and say, all right, well, we're going back to, we're scrapping everything. And then, it was just such an avalanche. And between the reveal and E3, when they were going to come out and talk about games, they could have come out and just taken 5 minutes to explain what the plan was, and I think people would have been all right with it.
I bet you they just don't know what the plan was. Like, we talked about that possibility, but having been on the inside and seeing how many things get finished in the 11th hour and the 59th minute of the 11th hour, I get why there's certain things that they can and can't say, because contracts might not be signed. It could be a good thing in theory. Like, I have literally watched a trailer for E3 get handed off at E3 during the presentation.
Damn.
Because that's how hot things will come in, or things will change, or things get pulled. So that's just me also backing up Xbox, just saying they probably said what they could. They obviously delivered it wrong. I'm not saying that here's how they should have done it or could have done it. They missed, readjusted, did their triage, saw how they could readjust, and just set that in motion. And that's what I love that they've been doing. Like, Xbox One X was straight, here's power. That's it. Yes, it's $500, but it's powerful. This is how much more powerful it is. Here's how quick it loads your game. So with Series X, they did the same thing. Here's power. This is just how strong it is. Let's go.
Right. And from what we understand, who was it? Either you, Peter, or you, Chris, that said we might get some actual game reveals this coming week, right?
Yeah, the rumors on the social media is that Monday we might be seeing some games.
Yeah.
Well, if we haven't seen it yet, it won't. You say this week, like tomorrow?
No, like Monday.
Well, Monday.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Monday.
Oh, okay, next week.
Next week.
Yeah, next week.
I was gonna say it's never Fridays. No game company ever likes to put out news on Fridays unless it's the news they want to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we used to be on Fridays, so we used to break a lot of news.
Oh, shoot! Yeah.
But I mean, and there's a lot of folks in the chat room who are kind of applauding what I was saying earlier, and I also want to, I spent a lot of time on forums defending that plan that they had, because one of the things that I thought about was, I've got a pretty large physical game collection, and we've complained for years that retail could drop the price of a game while the digital version is still $60, and the what people I don't think understood was what Microsoft wanted to do by making discs basically installers was to merge that field together so that you could still have the benefits of a digital game, but you could buy it at retail prices, and when retail dropped the price of that physical game, you could benefit from it. And now you really can't. The reason I go digital is because I really don't want to. I'm lazy. I don't want to get up.
I'm not trying to get up.
All right, exactly. That's exactly it. I don't want to get up and put my game in. And,
I went to. It's funny you said that, Mike. Tonight, Shammer and I, we made a little road trip tonight, and I thought, well, let's just drive by GameStop. So,
because they're essential.
I went by GameStop, and I saw this kid, and he's like peeking out the door, and there's a lady and her kid and another customer, and he's like, you see his little hand stretch out real creepy, like, and it's got a bag with a game in it. He hands it to the customer. So I called GameStop to see what's up, and everything you have to call it, order, and then pick up your delivery. But it just looked kind of creepy tonight, He just hiding behind the door, handing out his little package,
Oh my goodness. So, but I defended that for the longest time, and I still to this day believe that the path they were on was the right path, and we see it bearing out now. And I think
that's just people being ready for it too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and I think Microsoft just blinked. They had the messaging, as you said, was just delivered horribly, which it was. It was a horrible delivered message. whether we think the message was good or bad, it was delivered crap, and they had to blink. And I always in the back of my mind wonder what would have happened had they stayed the course and said, you know what, we'll get the messaging right, but we need to put this thing out as we envisioned. And I just always wonder where we would be today if they did, and we might be farther along in that digital space.
I wonder, though, because I wonder how much they were going to piss off retail partners by doing that. I mean, you were effectively cutting out the GameStops, the Walmarts, the Fred Meyers, the Targets. They could still sell stuff, but it's not going to be the same, especially a place like GameStop that, I mean, we know their revenue comes from purchasing your games cheap and reselling them used for a huge profit.
Right.
I genuinely think, and this is without any knowledge of the situation, that was the whisper, but that wasn't like, the plan wasn't completely fleshed out.
Right.
Like, I don't think it was there. I think they had the idea, but there was still a lot of work to be done. Like, it shouldn't have even been a whisper. They should have kept that, real tight, real close.
Right.
It's weird. I've kind of at first I've always been a physical guy for years, and then in 2013 when I got my Xbox One Day Edition, I started buying digital like crazy. And then I filled up one hard drive that was like 4 terabytes. Then I filled up another hard drive that was like 5 terabytes. But lately it's weird. It's like I think things are cyclical. I don't think trends always stay the same, because now I find myself longing for the physical content.
Really?
So now, yes, I find myself going out buying more collector's editions. There's just something special. I think it's because growing up as a kid, we didn't have digital. We had cartridges.
Yeah.
When I had my Intellivision, when I had my Atari, and I always liked having that physical collection alongside my games. That's something that you could touch, that was there, it was tangible. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, there is a convenience with digital, but there's also this coldness, just like the thing with the streaming. I like my physical content. I like my console. I like that kind of thing. And it's weird because I was kind of all digital for a while, but now I'm filling up hard drives like crazy, and it don't really matter. I mean, now I kind of getting back to the discs. I kind of like the physical content.
That's interesting, because I know I'm never going back to a disc. I'm throwing all my discs away. I got hundreds of movies that I'm like, slowly but surely, like, let's make these digital as well. If I could just have one place that would let me watch everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer digital, but when it comes to the Switch, I like buying the physical.
Same thing. Yeah.
Switch.
My Switch and PlayStation, it's all physical, but Xbox, it's digital all the way. Huh. Unless there's like a pricing error, like at Amazon, where I got like, what was it? Maybe it was Division 2 or something, where I got like the gold edition for like $40. It's like, okay, I'll that one disc can stay in the drive. All the rest is go, but for $40 versus like 100 and or whatever, I mean, it's a big difference. So I'll suffer for a little bit.
I did like
now paid out because
team
then
no
it came
sticker.
out.
Oh man,
no sticker. No sticker. Absolutely not.
Did
you hear that? Did you hear about the coldness of your digital library? That's me. Cold, sterile, clean.
Yeah.
That's.
I still have my stickers.
My stickers are on all of mine.
Oh, hell no.
The sticker? No, you got to take that sticker off there. That's horrible. That's you can't have that. The sticker has to be taken off. It has to be glossy. It has to be, whether it's the glossy finish, the matte. You can't have that sticker on there.
It's like running around with your umbilical.
No, you don't do that. You get to a certain age, that's like wearing the price tag on your baseball cap.
Exactly.
You got to rip that shit off.
Well, it's like your mattress tag. That's illegal to take off, man.
No, it's illegal for. You see, I worked in mattresses. It's illegal for the manufacturer.
Right. But that's always the big joke. Is you can't take it off. Right.
Parents always tell the kids that.
Right. So.
No, the lie I got told as a kid was don't turn on the light in the car, because that's illegal and you'll get pulled over. And here I am, 34 years old, scared to turn on the light in the car.
I was told the same thing, but then again, we were allowed to lay up on the back dashboard in those big giant cars of ours. So.
Oh yeah, the big Plymouths and
Yes.
Vaudevilles.
So what do you? So you said you're not with Xbox, which is why it's great that we get all these great opinions from you post Xbox.
I haven't told you anything that I think is secretive.
No, I know, and I'm teasing you about that. But what do you?
Yeah.
So you said that you're doing a lot more event-driven stuff. What are you doing now? Because I wanted before it gets really really late. I want to know where people would find you too.
Okay, so all the event-driven stuff, I guess. So when I got laid off, actually, let's go back a year before that when I jumped on the marketing team, which really wasn't marketing. It was the team behind Inside Xbox. It was a video production team. When I was doing all the crazy traveling and whatnot, actually about 3 years ago now, I remember I'm in Hawaii on vacation, maybe 2 years ago, whatever. First time in Hawaii, and I get a message in Hawaii. I'm on, sitting there on the island, and it goes, "Hey, we need you in Jamaica. We need you to leave Hawaii when you're done and go to Jamaica." And I said, there's no goddamn way I'm going to be able to convince people that I left Hawaii to go to Jamaica for work. Like, the optics of that are horrible. And that was the story of my 2017, was trying to make sure the optics showed that I was working, right? The Jamaica bit, we did an interview with Usain Bolt, and we had to take 20 hours worth of flights to get to Jamaica, just to get to Jamaica, go through customs for a few hours, get to his house, realize his house isn't going to work. So we go to Site B. We get Site B set up. We finish everything at 1 a.m., go have dinner, check into our hotel about 3 a.m., wake up at 8 a.m., get set up for the day, do our live stream at noon. It has to go live at 4 or 5 o'clock, and then we tear down and go back to the airport. But what people see is me and Usain doing, that silly little point that he does. And so everybody always thought that was the fun. The event, right? So for a long time, I tried to say, I'm really working. Then I realized when the layoff happened, because I was still doing my day job plus that. So when the layoff happened, not to say I was jaded, but I understood a couple of things about the corporate world, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, you could go at any time. I mean, I think they laid off E, right? Didn't they lay off Eric?
Yes.
Like, he eventually got caught up in a layoff. So I found out what it costs to hire talent to do the thing that I was doing on behalf of the company for free, and that I felt like I was having fun doing. And I'm like, we're talking, for certain talent, tens of thousands of dollars for just a host. Not me, but people that are definitely up there. Like, I'm sure the Chobots of the world get 30, 40. Like, there's money to be made, because I realized how small that crowd is. So now they still want to use me for things. And I have friends on so many teams that I found out that I could technically have a talent agent, and that talent agent is now myself. And I could go out and still work these same things, but now they have to pay me. So it's funny, instead of Microsoft hiring me and I'm a full-time employee, Microsoft has full-time employees, and they have budgets for those employees, and those employees have budgets for their projects. And out of those projects, they pay a contractor to kind of set up. So Inside Xbox is obviously run by some Microsoft employees, but they hired this studio called Mighty, and Mighty's working on the production side of it. And I'm hired through Mighty's budget, not to work for Mighty, but for Inside Xbox as like an independent contractor or consultant. So that's what I do now. So it's funny, I haven't left the Xbox ecosystem. My money comes from 7 layers of bullshit. I had a contract to do 12 episodes of this like pilot show with Twitch that we're still in the process of doing. I've done the GameStop Manager Expo on behalf of Xbox. We still do Xbox Live sessions. That's kind of what I'm doing now, and it's this weird. I love it and I hate it. You talk about John hating social media. I'm kind of the same way, but I understand after working in community management, not how to manipulate it, but how to take advantage of it. And I hate influencers, and I kind of think I have to become an influencer if I want to continue to host. Like, I got to be the guy that puts himself out there. Again, I can talk all day if you guys ask me a prompted question. But if I have to go out there and say, hey, come watch my shit because I do cool stuff, I feel so awkward. That's where that disingenuous comes out.
It's really hard, Rukari. Like you said, I guess, I mean, like social media can be very good if it's used properly. The problem is you got a lot of people out there that are I'm just going to say it, that are idiots.
Yeah.
And they take something that could be used for something good and they run it for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of making it positive for Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and the television, and all these game companies, because they all need to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got people out there that are just running it, and there's just all this bicker. Oh, my controller's better than yours. You know, I like the offset buttons. I like the symmetrical buttons. It's like, good grief, guys. I played from the original Nintendo. You had the square controller.
Yeah.
I played with the joystick with one button. I played with flight simulator controls. I played with every controller you could possibly think of. The Nintendo 64, it's not that hard to adapt to any of these controllers. If you're a gamer and you've got any kind of coordination whatsoever, you can learn to play with any of these controllers. To me, when I hear people arguing about something that's so insignificant, it's just people that are looking for something to argue, and that's what turns me away from social media right there.
Oh yeah, that's just life though. That's gonna happen everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's always that one friend, and if you don't think you have that one friend, you probably are the friend. So yeah, that's sort of my jump around now. So the weird part for me is I might only work a handful of days in a month, so I'm trying to fill the 9 to 5 time, which is why I've been streaming, which is why I should be making YouTube content and promoting that channel, but I do not want to be the person that I used to make fun of it. Every time we would do an unboxing video, I'm like, do I have to do the YouTube intro? And they're like, what's the YouTube intro? I'm like, yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Rukari, and we're here to unbox another controller today. And they're like, oh yeah, you should do that. I was like, absolutely fucking not. But I'm realizing that if I want to promote myself as a host, I have to take care of the social media bits to then give credibility to that host bit. Like I have to stay relevant. I can't ride on the laurels of just working for Xbox anymore. So it's a weird circle. Because I'm kind of interested in trying out the hosting, but the blue collar in me is like, go get a job. I don't care if I go work at McDonald's or the grocery store. Go work a 9 to 5. And there's a part of me that's like, maybe you don't have to. Then there's the part of me that's like, boy, you're 34, you got a mortgage, and you got a car payment, and you got a kid. Like, you have to. And I'm like, well, I argue with myself every day of people seem to tell you have this skill, but you're going to have to go do the things you don't like to do to build that skill. And it's not the practicing of it. It's more so the selling of myself and creating a brand.
Yeah, and that's hard for us, too. I mean, we're just a little... I gotta admit, it's interesting to see, who has really garnered that audience. We do this for fun. So I mean, there's no, and I'm not throwing shade on anybody else who does this, because if you're doing it and you're successful, that's awesome. But we don't do Patreons, we don't do super chats. We want everybody to just kind of. This is kind of like a haven for people to get away from what John's talking about in social media. So we of course we talk about all this stuff, but we try to hit it from kind of an objective but passionate come at. And so it's like I can't. I'm like you, man. I can't like make a video and go, "Hey guys, this is Stinger. I'm back with another video." It's just not me.
Well, maybe not that intro, but imagine I liken doing, like I could get up in front of any crowd, and if you told me what to talk about, I'll talk about it. That's easy.
You need to do your stripper voice, Mike. Hey, this is Mike Mullis. Come on down, Shasta.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage glitter.
Welcome them on stage.
Oh man.
But it's like walking into a room of people and saying, "Hey, look at me." That just sucks. But I pick on Stein for doing it, though I don't know if he does it for real or not. But I feel like he's always doing that.
Yes.
Like he's the guy that's like, I love my Xbox cup of coffee, and I'll sit back there and be like, "Shut up."
Well, but he's doing right. But he's still doing Mixer, right?
No.
Oh no, what's Stein? Because I haven't followed him in a while, to be quite honest. What's he doing?
Xbox Social.
Okay, all right. So he's
Didn't
got
he just change or
I can't keep up.
something? I don't know.
Yeah, he just got that role.
But it's not just gaming too. It's like where I work, Rukari. I'm an electrician, but sometimes there's problems at work, or a robot breaks down, or a machine breaks down, or they want me to move the machine or do something. And sometimes you have to talk to management and say, hey, look, we're going to have to replace this. And sometimes you have to just be honest and real. And so it's not just the gaming. I mean, I always have a hard time struggling because I'm kind of goofy. I'm old school. I like having fun. I like telling jokes. I do love talking a lot, but that's why I'm on the podcast. Like, I didn't get on this podcast to sit here and not say anything. I like the guys I'm chatting with. I'm energetic about gaming, and I'm not just going to sit here all night long and do nothing. Otherwise, it's just a waste of my time.
Yeah.
But that being said, I also feel like as long as I'm expressing myself in a polite way and being honest and not disrespectful to other people, nobody should take issue with what I'm saying. Not everything at PlayStation is glorious. Not everything at Xbox is glorious. And that's just being honest. Anybody that says different isn't really being real. And it's hard because, like you're saying, when you're trying to move in a certain direction or take your career, or like right now I've got a website up and I'm doing game reviews. When I'm trying to do that, I'm trying to just be real and be myself and put my own take on things into it. I don't want to be somebody I'm not, because if I have to be fake to get there, then I don't want that. That's there's no glory in that.
Well,
I want to be real.
My struggle is always taking what you just said there, being real, and then I always ask myself, like, the BS in me, and I say BS and I mean business justification, like the business strategy, right, is why? Who cares? So whenever I take something that I make that is real, like if I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to create this behind the scenes video of when we do Inside Xbox, and right. I hate whipping out the camera and doing that because, first of all, I just think that's insufferable when all of a sudden I'm sitting there like this. Oh, hold on. And I'm holding my camera up like, all right, guys, we're here. And I'm like, because I get to a point of, yes, I'm being me, but who asked me to do that? And that's where I struggle. That's where I've been having a real tough time. I get that people do kind of like that stuff, and I have a chance to give them my eye into it. But boy, I just find myself going, who cares?
But see, you got the other end of the spectrum too. You got guys that do their shows or do their podcasts, and they're just straight up like hate, or they're just pushing an agenda, and and if that can be successful, the way I see it, well, then being honest and being upfront like our podcast is, because all of us, I mean, we've known each other for a while. I've known Mike for several years, and Peter. Chris has become a good friend of mine, but I look forward to doing the show every week because I respect these guys and I love them from the bottom of my heart, and I would never do anything to hurt any one of them. And the fact that Mike and the guys at least give me my freedom to speak how I feel on things, even if it's not always painting a pretty picture about a certain company. I like the fact that they have me on the show because I consider them friends, and you got to be able to constructive criticize all these things or talk about. That's why we do the show.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, and you harness that, and that's what that's what we try to do. Is the other thing too is that we all try to have opinions that aren't exactly in lockstep with each other, because you could listen to that and get bored of that really quick. But when Peter, John, and I are having this real heated discussion about the future of streaming, that stuff.
I know, I've seen that reference a couple of times now.
Yes, but we come out of that show feeling really good because we try to foster passionate opinions about the gaming industry, but there's a level of, I feel like with this crew here, we all have first off, we've got over 150 years of gaming experience between us. So I mean, we've been there. John remembers his Nintendo controller. I remember my Intellivision controller. These are, we've been at this a very, very, very long time.
Oh yeah.
And what we try to do is bring something a little different. You know, you're going to get our opinions, but it's it's not going to be at the expense of something else. You know, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think it's you gotta. It's just not the way we are.
Yeah.
It's hard too because you want to, like since I got back with Next Level Gaming this year, it's been awesome. And at the same time, you want to build followers, and you want people to tune in, listen, and you want to do things that bring them in the show, that excite them. But at the same time, like Mike said, you got to be real, because if Mike, Peter, and Chris and I all said the same thing, like, I don't know, like Oompa Loompas and Willy Wonka, all the same, people would see right through that. You have
even
to have,
more, you guys are building this because you enjoy talking with one another.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think
definitely.
it's less a function of you guys. You guys don't have to be genuine. You are being genuine. You're just talking with each other, right?
Right.
The difference is you're not going, and this is how I view me creating my own content. It's not like you're setting this shop up and intruding on some other space. And that's what I look at the problem with the camera being interjecting. You guys are having this conversation. It's here broadcast if people want to check it out. Whereas mine would have to be, I'm doing this thing, but while I'm having that real interaction with people, I'm trying to figure out how to manipulate that and get other people in on it too. And that's where my struggle is how do I not be genuine myself? That's easy. I know how to be me, but I have to be genuine with these people while giving others the window into it. And that's tough to do. I talk about my Apple Watch all the time, right? Because I hate that. I used to have a Microsoft Band. I love that thing because the Microsoft Band fit this way. It was upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you looked at it, it did not look like you were looking at the time to get out of there. So in the same way I view that, I look at holding a camera in front of somebody. There's just an awkwardness to it.
Sure.
All of a sudden, they're like, what are you recording? What am I saying? What do I need to say? Versus a camera that's just floating around the room. And we're still having our conversation, but maybe there's a camera that's back here hiding, and you don't really know, you know it's there, but it's not the focus anymore. And then everything becomes more natural and relaxed, and that's where I'm stuck at, is how do I keep things fun? Then again, I do want to do some fun stuff that is almost between two ferns-ish and is real cheeky and whatnot, but I don't know. I guess it's one of those things where you kind of got to just jump in and do it, and I love what you guys got here, because again, it's a few friends sitting around and chatting. Yeah, that's genuine.
Yeah.
You can argue with each other all you want.
Right. Yeah. Well, but we also love, I mean, it's funny because things here are very organic. We're already at 11:30 our time, and we've talked about a number of things with you and haven't even gotten to any topics that we were thinking about talking about, because we get, and I love that about some of the guests we have on, and we've come to a point to where we love that, but we also, look, I am still somewhat of a, I've got that little spark of my old gaming journalism self. So we've had Chris Charla on, we've had,
Tommy Tallarico.
We've had Tommy Tallarico, and actually, so really funny. We were. Was it last? Yeah, it was last week. We were just talking out of the blue, and I see Tommy on Skype, and he's green, and I'm like, hey man, we're gonna talk about the Amico tonight. You're welcome to jump on if you want, because I tell everybody, once you've been on here, you're always welcome. All you have to do is DM one of us and say, hey Mike, hey Chris, hey Peter, John, if you got room for me tonight, can I jump on and we can talk some games? So we're talking out of the blue. Next thing you know, we hear Tommy's voice. I mean, he just jumped on. He was like, he called me and he's like, let's do this. And he just jumps on it. And that makes us, I mean, that felt really good. And he's like, and John's like, what the hell are you doing here, Tommy? And Tommy's like, I'm crashing your shit. And we just,
Rukari,
and he jumped on, and for an hour and a half, we just talked. And that's what we love, is we could bring a developer on. We could bring, a celebrity like you. We could bring a guest, but we could have a great guest come on, and it's not it's not one of these, all right, so Rukari, tell us all about this. We just have a conversation, and we do that with everybody, and I've had people tell us that, well, we had Tommy Tallarico on first in like January, and it was 4 hours. It was the longest show we've ever done, and we could have gone more. But people came back to us and said that was the most incredible interview we've ever seen, because you didn't interview him. He sold his console. I mean, he sold the Amico, but he didn't. It wasn't this question and answer period. We conversed, and it's the same thing we're doing tonight.
Oh yeah,
and getting to know you, beyond. Look, I love the stories, but we're interested in you, and you as a gamer, and your opinions on those kind of things, and that's what we wanted for this.
That's why I haven't talked that much tonight. It's killing me too. I wanted to learn more about Rukari, but just real quick, going back to when Tommy dropped it, we got podcast bomb Rukari, and Mike didn't really tell us. Mike was being sneaky about it. Then all of a sudden I hear Tommy Tallarico's his Italian mob voice. Hey, what's going on?
Oh, so Tommy Two-Tone.
Yeah, Tommy Two-Tone. He showed up. I was like, what the hell? I know that voice. I said, it's Tommy. And Mike's giggling,
But those are the things. I mean, these are the relationships that we also try to cultivate, because we love the industry too. And one of the reasons that I was really happy when Chris, had talked to you about coming on is because you do have some of that insight into the gaming industry being, part of Xbox and various pieces, and those kind of things still fascinate me, because I've kind of been there as a game journalist. So I've been to E3, I've done all that. I was always friends with Peter Moore, and I always had great stories about this stuff, and but I love that behind the scenes stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's always
Rukari,
fun. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking you, if you had like a couple moments with Inside Xbox that you could pick out, that stood out for you, like one of your best moments, could you tell us something about that, or just one of the most memorable times there? Do you have a specific moment?
Sure. One of my favorite ones is again, we talk about Xbox making fun of themselves. I was working on a behind-the-scenes video for IX. That was actually part of my bit. So when I was working on the Xbox marketing team, which again was really video production, my job was to make Inside Xbox more social. It started with things like Tag Board, and it evolved into making sure that, we were asking live questions during the show and bringing them back on for interviews later, right? Bringing those full screen. So one of my projects was a behind-the-scenes video where I just wanted to get gritty and raw and literally show how all this stuff comes together. And it was all y'all, whoever's in the Northeast, you're going to laugh at us, but Seattle had a snowstorm. A few inches hit the ground, but in Seattle, the problem is we're hilly, very hilly. Everything's a hill. Not quite like San Francisco with the steepness and the sharpness or the length of the hills, but if we get an inch and it freezes, nobody's going to work. It's too slick. So that ended up happening 2 days before the show, and it started snowing during the Super Bowl when the Patriots won. I think anyway, we come in for the rehearsal, and I just remember Larry walking in, because Larry's from the Northeast, so he's tickled pink because he gets to wear his big pea coat, and he comes in and the collar's all popped, and he's in these dark glasses, and I have footage of it. Well, I called him Tom Brady all day, because I was like, man, Larry, you look like you're ready for your press conference. Like he walks in with like his bag like in his hand, like a briefcase. And, his glasses are on. He's like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? I was like, hey, Larry, right up here. We'd love to get you for 15 minutes of questioning. I don't know why that one I love that one, because it was just funny to see. Like on the show, nothing. It was always the little silly stuff behind the scenes. Very first episode, I remember, again, because I'm always picking on Larry, one of my favorite community interactions actually involved him, and this is where he got me back. We're getting ready to go. We've done rehearsals, and you hear that little and they're counting us in 5, 4, and Larry's standing up at the front of the stage. But I noticed, and I just shout out right as it's about to start, Larry, why are your knees touching? because he's standing so prim and proper, right? And Graham starts busting up laughing. I'm laughing. Jeff is laughing. Like, we're all sitting there laughing. And at the end of the show, somebody tweeted me and they said, "Hey, man, great job. Sorry you were a little nervous." And I said, "Nervous?" And I asked them, I was like, "What do you mean by that?" And they're like, "Well, you were rocking back and forth." And I realized I'm a talkative mover, right? Or I mean, a mover when I talk. And I was like, oh shit, on camera, little subtle movements come across as giant movements. Like, even if you just rock back and forth. And I look at Larry and I was like, that's why your knees and ankles were touching, because it makes you not rock back and forth. You can't pivot. And this asshole taps me on the leg. It's like, learn something new every day, don't you, Slick? 30 years ago. And he pissed off. And I remember it like, son of a bitch. I thought I threw him off his game, and little did I know he was going to come back and light me bitter. I think of other fun things that have happened. Believe it or not, I'm not saying it's not a fun bit, but the production crew itself is just a ton of fun. Like, the people that are there behind the scenes, you see them from video shoot to video shoot, and they're always a good time. There was one guy, Raph. Raph is Mexican, and when we went down for IX in Mexico City, it was so much fun to hear him interact with the crowd, because it was hot as hell in there. And we were all sweating, and it's like 85 degrees outside, but we're in this giant metal tin. And I mean, it was a building, don't get me wrong, there was AC, but it didn't matter when there were thousands of people in there. And I just remember everybody was asking, they were chanting for water. They were chanting agua. And Raph came out, and as we're setting up for the next shot, and he hands me a water, and he opens the water himself, and he cheerses it and proceeds to chug in front of all of them. And the entire crowd. So Mexico City was wild because there was a brotherhood there. Like, they were all the same. I don't care if they were Xbox fans. They were all Mexican. They loved their culture, their community. And they broke out, and they look at me and Raph. And without being prompted, they all look at us and go, "Ah, puto!" And I remember seeing all these people in unison do that and be like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And the last one from Inside Xbox was that same show. Larry goes to get the crowd warmed up, and they're all chanting and screaming. And he comes out, and he starts to hold the mic up to his face like he's getting ready to say something super prophetic, right? Like, he's getting ready, and they're all excited to hear him talk, and he gets them louder, and he's like, "No, not yet." He does this, and he walks back and forth, and he starts to talk, and he doesn't. And then finally, they're at a fever pitch. And they're yelling, and he just goes, "Hola, Mexico," and walks off. Like that was the entire speech. And he comes back and is like, "I don't know any goddamn Spanish." Everybody with nothing, with absolute nothing. So those are my favorite Inside Xbox ones. I have more from outside of that. My favorite Xbox moment as a whole was the first week I was working at Halo. And we talk about not fanboying. Halo was the one that I fanboyed. It was never athletes, but something about Frank O'Connor and that team, because Halo was the game that I grew up loving. Mm-hmm. So I started Halo on Monday, I want to say October 8th. And so, yeah, it's like Wednesday the 10th. And we're sitting in there, and I go to use the restroom, and there are 3 urinals, right? And they're all open. So for those of you in chat and for you guys here, we know that general rule of thumb, you either go 1 or 3.
Right. You got to skip. You can't be next to each other.
No.
Go odd. So
only in the movie theater.
Right? I went to urinal 1. And all of a sudden, I hear the door open behind me. I'm like, okay, just eyes forward. Don't worry about that. They can come in and go to 3. And my eyes are forward. I'm like, look, oh shit. Did this motherfucker just come into 2? And I'm like, all right, well, don't look at him. Don't look at him. And I'm sitting here kind of like this, like looking the other way, like. And I just hear, it's so great to have you here. I love it when, like fans get the chance to work on a game. They turn their passion into gaming. And it's fucking Frank O'Connor. And so on one hand, I'm sitting there like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world. Like, I get to meet Frank. On the other hand, I'm like, come on, dog. Like, you bumped my elbows. Like, what are you doing? Right. And I just remember it made it the most awkward thing in the world because we finished at the same time and had to go wash our hands. Like, well, it's great to meet you. or have you in here? And I'm like, yeah, thanks. And later, I go back to my desk, and Jessica was like, hey, have you had a chance to meet everybody? Like, did you see Frank? I'm like, yeah, no, I met him.
Right. Not
You
like
got to
this,
have that
Frankie.
restroom etiquette, though. Like I told Mike and the guys, my wife and I were at Walmart. Of course, you see everything at Walmart. So I walk in and I go to the restroom, and I go in and start to walk up to the urinal, and there's a guy, and he's at the urinal, and he's got his pants all the way down to his ankles.
This is grown up.
Everything. This is a grown-up. This guy's probably in his mid-50s. So I walk in, I'm like, whoa. I mean, what kind of restroom is this, you know? But yeah, you got to skip spots. You can't stand next to each other, you know, and you definitely don't need your pants that low, you know. There's just a few rules you should abide by. You know, it gets really weird.
I've seen somebody do that at one job that I used to work at before, and I didn't believe it until I actually saw it. I'm like, what?
This is why.
Yeah,
This is why no men's bathroom has a trough ananymore.
But speaking of, going to the urinal and to the restroom, buddy of mine, a roommate of mine, meeting some.
You have a whole show on your.
It's a gaming podcast. Why
I
not?
can't wait to hear where this one goes.
So here in San Antonio, you got the Spurs, right? And then at the time, Charles Barkley was playing with Houston, so they were here in town, and we went clubbing, and so my buddy goes to the restroom, and he sits there and he goes to take a piss, and then he looks to his right, like, the hell, Charles Barkley. He's like, hey, what's going on? So, first time meeting, he's like, hey, what's going on? You want to take a piss?
Yeah.
Meet Charles Barkley. So, I was like, shit, you're lucky.
Lucky
But,
he didn't swing because he's thrown people out of clubs.
Yeah. But it's an awkward moment. And then at the same time, you're like, hey, cool, it's so-and-so. But, like, all right, you're just trying to, look forward, like you said,
And so I'm bad with the rest of the moments because every day was a fun moment. Like I hated going to work and I loved going to work because it was a job. I quit that job all the time because I realized it was a job. Things would bother you. But it was still the greatest place to work. Like,
Sure.
I would get mad about things and I would turn on State of Decay and be like, I'm a character in a video game.
Nice.
Yeah.
I
I
see.
thought that was cool when I picked up Steady K and was like, oh shit, it's with Rukari.
Yeah, there's my dumbass face right there. So no, I try to. I'm horrible about remembering those moments unless something like triggers it. Right. But there's a ton. There are definitely a ton. But every day was something different.
Well, people have to, you see, and it's funny that people do kind of treat Phil like a movie star. But people forget that it is a company, it is a job, it is a, there's work to be done. Everybody thinks that Phil and Larry and you and Graham and those guys just come to work and play games all day, and I'm pretty sure Phil doesn't do that.
Right.
So And I'm pretty sure you come to work, and if it's a production like that, you guys are doing like multiple takes and stuff like that, right? I mean,
What was it, Inside Xbox?
Yeah.
For the most part, it was live. There were certain times where the guest had to leave or something like that. But it was rarely to take.
So there weren't segments that were pre-recorded with those.
Some are.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You get
but it was we still wouldn't do takes with them.
Okay.
Because we just felt like whatever, just go. I mean, that's
cool.
One, you had to, even if it was to tape, you had to not fake like it was live, but you wouldn't, if you goofed in a live show, you would just keep going anyway.
Right.
So just treat it as live.
Okay.
Sometimes you can prepare too much. It's just better to go au naturel,
Yeah. So it wasn't. I love, and I get on Malik for this all the time. Not get on, but we compare our styles. Malik loves to be nervous. Like, nerves are his thing. He's always nervous. I'm like, what are you nervous about? And he's doing jumping jacks before a show, and he has to get all of his energy out. Otherwise, he's scared he's going to start rambling. And I laugh because he's like, you're not nervous about this. And I'm like, no. And yes. The yes is like that scene in Avengers where Ruffalo says he's always angry. And I was like, I was like, you ever just double dutch where you just got to jump in and go? Like, you could sit there and dance around it all day long, but until you go, nothing's going to help you. So I look at that show the same way. I hate rehearsals. I hate table read. I like rehearsals because you get your blocking. But my favorite bit is when they just say, all right, and we're going. Because then you have no choice but to go.
Right.
Right, and maybe that's what I'm more referring to is like, you come in and you have to rehearse, and you have to do read throughs, and you have to do that stuff before you go live. Maybe that's what I'm more referring to than take six, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But people have to realize it's a job, and it's something that you have to.
Well, and that's not our job. None of us. Like, that is something that we help out with. Well, that's mine.
Right, I meant,
but like,
going to work for Xbox is still a job. Is what I was getting at.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And it was never the stuff that anybody saw. It was always something entirely different.
Right. So, and so because we are getting, I know you're on the West Coast, so it's was it 8:45 there now?
That it is.
It's 11:45 here. And before we started to kind of wrap things up for the night, I did want to ask you about some of the things that you like to play. I mean, so what gets you as a gamer? What are your favorite types of games that you like? What are you playing these days? I think you just went mute.
Oh, it cut off. Oh,
yeah.
Golly. Oh, we were tapping the touchpad. I play kind of whatever comes my way. Like, I'm jumping into Warzone a bunch because a bunch of my friends are now that they're all home all day. NBA 2K, Apex, definitely a shooter boy.
Okay.
That's kind of where I've had my roots. Working at Xbox helped open my eyes to a ton of games that I had no idea existed. And I think of things like Child of Light or Valiant Hearts or any of that stuff that we had to play on stream. I would have never played those growing up. When you were young and poor and you had a console, that console then became the console for the neighborhood. So you either brought it to a friend's house where everybody congregated and you kind of had to play what everybody wanted to play. So I used to hate fighting games because I never owned them. And I sucked at it. And I would always have to wait for 10 of my friends to go before I could go again. I was definitely the NFL Blitz type, the Ready to Rumble, the Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Those are like some of my top 5 favorite games just because you could get in, play around for 2 minutes, and get out.
Yep.
So then working at Xbox, I've become a horrible gamer because I dabble in a lot and I complete nothing. So you talk about... Peter, I think it was you that talked about finishing the Call of Duty campaign. I haven't even started it yet, and I know I need to. I usually will do the campaign in a game. Like I did the Gears campaign. What have I started? Doom, I'm, 5 levels in now, and my attention goes elsewhere. So I'll play anything and everything that kind of comes my way, and I get hooked on random things at random times. I talk about not finishing, and somehow I played Assassin's Creed Origins, and I 100%ed it. I did every single thing there was in that game.
Jesus.
But yeah, so I guess I should, if I look at my console and look at the achievements that I've got, I can tell you what I've been playing, but I know that it's definitely the 2K. It's definitely Call of Duty. Still haven't touched Bleeding Edge or Ori.
I haven't touched Ori either.
And I want to.
Me too. And it's in Game Pass. I have no excuse.
I have no
And it just got patched, so that's good too, because I can finally finish it.
And I loved Ori, the original Ori. My God, I loved Ori.
I need to finish Zombie Army 4. Overcooked's a fun one. Girlfriend play that. I need to finish Dragon Ball. Destiny was one that I was hooked on, and I usually go in 6 months spurts. Like I will no life it for 6, 7, 8 months, and then I won't touch it for the same amount of time.
Yeah.
And that's been the same first one.
Yeah, I've done that with a couple of games. I'm the beta for Phantasy Star Online 2 because I'm an old Dreamcast guy. I mean, an old Sega guy. I mean, Dreamcast was for me when you talk about Blitz and Ready to Rumble. My good
those
friend,
were my jam.
Oh my goodness, my
NFL 2K when you finally had the visor. Oh,
So what games or game consoles did you grow up with?
let's see here. My first console that we owned as a family was the NES. Like, I remember the first game that I remember wanting to play was Super Mario, and it was at the skate rink. It was actually like an arcade stand-up of Super Mario Brothers. And then we ended up getting the console, so we had that, Duck Hunt, and Double Dribble. And then eventually I ended up getting a Sega Genesis, and my friends had the Super Nintendo, so we would play those. And then the next iteration from there for me was the 64. Did I get the PlayStation? Do you guys remember Funko Land? Was Funko Land around for y'all?
Yeah, we had a Funko.
So I would go to Funko Land and go back and forth between 64 and PlayStation, and always trading it back and forth and getting one or the other. And I would play demo discs, and that's how I fell in love with Tony Hawk, because I would get the demo disc from Pizza Hut. So from PlayStation, I ended up with the Dreamcast, and the Dreamcast was just the one, just like you were talking about, Mike.
My man,
I would play
Rukari. There it is.
Tony Hawk on that, Power Stone 2.
Stone.
Yeah, those are my.
But he grew up on Nintendo first, so he got the right foundation.
Oh, shush you. Shush you.
I just wanted to play, and I would play all sorts of different games, all sorts of different things. And then eventually PlayStation 2, and then somebody bought me an Xbox, and I got hooked on Halo, and that's where kind of everything.
Did you do LAN parties back in the day?
We did. And remember, you would we would play on boarding action. And you'd be on the 5th level with a sniper, and you go to snipe somebody, and all of a sudden, right when you were about to shoot, they move, and be like, how did you know I was looking at you? Little screen peeking ass.
Yeah.
So we'd be running around on Hang 'em High, we'd be looking at the ground, and we knew where we were on the ground, and then we'd run up and pop, pop, pop. So yeah, we LAN partied. We'd know life whenever we could.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was basically my console life cycle. So now when we talk about that PlayStation controller that I hate that it's two-tone, but I'm going to get it. Like, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to play. So now, I like to dabble in everything. And then if a game hooks me, it'll hook me. And I don't know when or how it'll hook me.
That's cool. I mean, I kind of feel the same way. It's weird what games have hit me lately. Like, I got hooked on Bloodstained, the newest one, the Ritual of the Damned. Ritual of the Night. Sorry, not Ritual of the Damned. And, I mean, I played it as far as I could get. I've got like 80% of the map done. And then I'm on to the next thing. I don't know what that next thing is yet. I mean, the Phantasy Star beta was like my last couple of nights, because I was like, you know what? That was like one of my games with Power Stone and Virtual On, and did you have Test Drive V Rally?
I didn't.
That was it was one of the first console rally games that had a track editor. It was awesome.
Oh wow.
Yes. Also happened to be my first box quote, which I'm always proud of.
Wait, did you guys ever play? And this was on 360. Did you ever play Castle Storm? That's a weird favorite of mine. That's like one of those.
Castle Storm.
I don't know how to describe it. It's a 2D plane, even though they had little 3D character models. And it's basically, the characters would come out, and you were trying to attack a castle, but you would just
from both sides.
Yeah,
I'd play that. Yeah, that's a good game.
That was a fun one. Guacamole was another one.
Guacamole.
Love that.
I do not like that.
I'm looking through my achievements.
I know you didn't,
like,
Peter.
what did I play?
I didn't, and I didn't play the second one yet. Did you to play the second one?
I did. I went straight through that.
That was some tough platforming, man. You had moves that you had to jump in the air and dash, and that was a tough platformer. That was good.
Yeah. So second one better than the first?
Just as good.
Okay.
Just as good. Same cheeky jokes, same fun. Not the same jokes, but the same humor, the same style. I'm looking through now. Yeah, but it's all random.
Love Guacamole. I know I got pretty far, but I got stuck. And games like that, like platformers, like Cuphead and all that, I get to a certain point and I'm like, forget it.
Oh man, that game was great, man. It had the Mexican music, and had the chickens, the dashing, the diving. Oh yeah.
Yeah, music. Yeah.
The Cuphead's a game,
and that's the beauty of Game Pass.
Yes.
Like Rukari was saying, how you were mainly on sports games and shooters, right? And then you started jumping in. Once you got into Xbox and all that, you started, trying out these other games for streaming, and that's what I love about Game Pass, because a lot of games I wouldn't buy them, but they're in there, so I'm gonna try them. So
Yeah,
For sure.
and us talking about them might spur somebody else to buy them. I am like one of the biggest Game Pass advocates for exactly that kind of reason, and of course the fact that I get to play all the Microsoft stuff, which I can't lie, that's pretty nice. So now you dabble in everything. So we've talked, we brought up Tommy Tallarico stuff like that. Do you get into some of the more obscure things, such as the like the
Ouya?
the Ouya, you're right. Like, so
Nope. I can tell you that one easy, just because the longer I worked at Xbox, the less I found myself able to have gaming sessions and like time. I found myself falling in love with like a Killer Instinct, where you could go in, you could play a match. It takes like 2 to 3 minutes, and I could sneak and do it right here, and then go back to my computer right here. And I've become less in tune of what's going on in the world and what advancements are happening, because now I have done so many events and worked so many things that I know games are coming out. Like, I don't go to PAX like, oh, let's go try something new. I more so go for the people and whatnot. So anyway, I've turned myself off from news cycles. It's so weird. It is the strangest thing in the world to me. It's almost like it's like in the Matrix, or, ignorance is bliss. That's me. Right. I'm literally like, well, I'll see it when I see it, if I see it. If not, I don't.
Interesting. And it works. Look, hey, I like I like something you said earlier, when we were asking you about the 2013 reveal, and you said, I don't care. I didn't care about it. And, you said, well, that's, maybe not the answer you wanted. It actually was the answer I was looking for. I was looking for an honest answer about, I've always been of the mind that you go where the games you want to play are,
Yeah.
The games that if I want to play God of War, I can't bitch about it not being on the Xbox. I could buy a PlayStation and get it. If you want to play Halo, I can't bitch about it not being on the PlayStation. I go get an Xbox to play Halo. You go where the games that you want to play are. And one of the things, John tells this story a lot, and I'm going to tell the story for him.
No, let me talk. That's why I'm on the show. I got you.
John talks a lot about how he got into PlayStation, and it was for a specific game, right? It was for...
What was it for, John?
Give me 2 minutes. That's all. And then I'll let Rukari talk again. I'm having withdrawals, man. That's why I'm drinking so much. I'm almost drunk. Anyway, Rukari, for the longest time, big Xbox fan, but like Mike in the beginning, I was a Commodore 64 fan back in the day. I was a huge Sega fan. In fact, at one time,
I wasn't a Commodore fan. I was an Atari guy.
I couldn't stand Sony because the Saturn debacle with the 2 chips trying to communicate, and it was harder to program, and the PlayStation 1 kind of just took over everything, and Sega kind of faded away, and then the Dreamcast was kind of short-lived, and I loved that console. So for a long time, I had some resentment towards Sony, and I'd never had a Sony console before. And, so 2013 came along. Of course, I had the Xbox 360. I had the original Xbox One. Love my 360. Love the original Xbox One. Anyway, from 2013, for like about the first 4 years, I was playing. And then I realized one of my favorite games that I love to play is the baseball game. Mm-hmm. And they had the MLB 2K series on Xbox at the time. Well, they stopped making it. And for like 7, 8, 9 years, there was no AAA baseball game on the Xbox. And this was a huge deal for me because I played baseball in college. I played since I was 5 years old in Little League. I think it's one of the greatest American sports. And baseball was just part of it's like Europe and their soccer fans. I mean, that's how baseball is to me. Yeah. So I had these withdrawals, and for the longest time, I didn't want to buy a PlayStation. And what's funny is I was in party chat with some guys, and it was like Tim Dog and Southbound and a bunch of guys, and they said, John, you ought to go out and just get you a PlayStation. We all got one. And so I said, what are you talking about? And they said, yeah, we all got one. So I went out one day, and my wife she said, where are you going, John? I said, I'm going to GameStop. She goes, what are you going there for? Because I said, well, I'm going to get a console and I'll be home. She goes, whatever you buy, as long as you play it, I'm okay with it. So I went and I got a PS4. I got my MLB The Show, and the rest was history, man. That is like one of the greatest, not only the best baseball game, it's like one of the best sports games, period. So I got that, and ever since then, I played games like God of War and Killzone, and I played all these the Uncharted games I'd never played. So I had years of making up to do. So I've been playing all these games, and what I found out is all this time that I was hating on Sony, it was out of ignorance. And on my part, because these are great games, and I was such a big Xbox fan that I was just like totally hating on Sony for so long. But I've changed. We all grow as gamers, and I can look back on it now, and I can be honest and open with it. And most of the guys here respect me for that. But and now my gaming consists of, of course, the Nintendo. I've got the Founders Edition for the Intellivision Amico pre-ordered. I still got my Xboxes, and I'm still a big PlayStation fan. So now my problem is finding time to play all these games. Mm-hmm. And I'm a completionist, so when I start something, I like to see it through to the end. Otherwise, I feel like I'm wasting my money. So for me, it's just I kind of play what I'm feeling at the time. Some people they may be playing Doom the day it comes out, or they may play Call of Duty the very day it comes out. I just take my time and I get around to these games when they fit my schedule. But when I do play them, I give my heart and soul to them, and that's what I enjoy. So that's my 2 minutes.
You took 4. Sorry. You took 4 to tell that story, John.
Sorry.
First time I ever heard you like MLB. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I am a huge baseball fan, and what's exciting about this year or next year, that because of the licensing and stuff, Xbox fans are now going to get to play MLB The Show, and this is great news because back in the day, I lobbied for a baseball game on Xbox, and I got ridiculed. People said, "Oh, John, shut up. People don't like baseball. Nobody plays that crap. It doesn't sell much. It's a niche game." And I got attacked left and right. All I wanted was to get a baseball game on Xbox. So now, just through sheer luck, but now Xbox fans get to actually play, and it's a great baseball game. So if you have an Xbox and you want to play baseball, I highly recommend getting MLB The Show next year when it launches. You're going to love it. So.
And while you're waiting, Super Mega Baseball 3 is coming.
All right.
Just letting you know. So, but anyway. So we have crossed the 12 o'clock barrier.
Mm-hmm. and it's now officially a Good Friday here.
Yes, it's officially Good Friday for you Gentiles.
Oh no!
Hey, my 4 cups of wine haven't quite drifted off yet. No, so Rukari, where can we find you? I want people to find your content now. Obviously, we can go back and see all the old Inside Xbox stuff, but where can we get you now?
Well, the beautiful thing with a name like Rukari is that nobody ever takes my tag anywhere. So wherever you search, it's always Rukizzle, Rukizzel. But I primarily dabble in Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Those are my few. Different content in different spots. Twitter I'll prattle on about games. Instagram is more just me messing around day to day. YouTube is I'm exploring things, right? I still do like gameplay videos and whatnot, and I still try these little diary segments. And I actually got a drone for my birthday, and I'm out here like having fun with that. So there's a smorgasbord of different things that all kind of coalesce into my
Is
social
that also
profile,
your,
but it's all the same name.
Is that also your YouTube channel with videos of your beautiful children?
My kid is everywhere. He has no choice. His head's too big, so he's always in frame. Actually, De Niro was mentioning it earlier. When I got to do all this traveling stuff with work, the benefit was before he was in kindergarten, he could just come with and tag along because he would just sit in the corner and play on the Switch. So there's videos of me all over, like Instagram and Twitter, where I troll him the most. But he'll try to look out the window because I always make him sit in the middle seat, and I'll just slam the window shut. Like, no window seat for you. And so yeah, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. He has no choice. But if he ever said to me he doesn't want to be in there, he won't be in there.
You are bringing that up at the same time De Niro is asking, why do you always do that to your son?
Why?
On the plane.
Why not? Why not? It's fun. Because he laughs.
It builds character.
He starts to look at me. He knows when when I have dad jokes now and he does this shit to me, he goes, like... So I got to get him before he gets me back. Like, I got to get him for as long as I can. The other day I had called him into the living room and I was like, hey, Liam. And he's like, yeah? So will you pass me that remote? And he's like, that one right there? I'm like, yep. He goes, like, he does that one. I'm like, yes, I just had to do that one time just so you know how it feels because we've all gone through that. So I don't know. He laughs, I laugh, people laugh, and that's
great.
That's why we do it.
And that's what it's all about. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about. I've tried to get my oldest. It's funny. My 10-year-old, they'll sit there and they'll watch videos of people playing Roblox, and then they'll go and play Roblox. And all I can think of is, dude, I could make so much money off of you if you just streamed yourself playing Roblox.
Hey, some people enjoy watching, other people enjoy creating.
Mike, I hate to interrupt the show, but my friend from work, he's been trolling me all night long. And he's a PC gamer. And his name's Jake. His name's Jake.
One of them?
He's a good electrician friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. Well, he goes by the name of Snickle Fritz. And he said he would pay me $20 if I mentioned his name on the show. So I know that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Fritz?
But Snickle Fritz,
game money right there.
He says it's the greatest gamer tag of all time. So I wanted to know what you guys thought about Snickle Fritz.
I think
I pass. Because I'm Dutch, and if you know what a snickle is, then you pass.
Oh my! Oh, somebody's hold on, because I'm hitting Google real quick. Is that SNIKLE?
Yeah, see, we've been playing the Modern Warfare because I got the when Modern Warfare came out, I got the Platinum Trophy and I went through the campaign, got everything, and we love the multiplayer, but he plays on PC and I play on PlayStation because the cross-play, we get together and play a lot. But man, what a blast. Warzone is awesome. But
wait a minute. Yeah, this isn't even it's not even a unique name. It's an urban dictionary.
I don't know what it is. It just Snickle Fritz.
Hold on.
I don't have time for these things.
Snickle Fritz was originally used in Pennsylvania Dutch country, where Snickle Fritz is an affectionate name for a mischievous or overly talkative child.
Well, that would be him, over talkative. Snickle Fritz.
Now I kind of want to know what Peter's.
Snickle, so it's like Richard.
I'll have to tell him it's
not even. Aha. Gotcha.
Wow.
Apparently, this was also used in Pineapple Express.
What, Snickle Fritz was?
Yes, apparently that, yes.
Oh, Pineapple Express. I got to jot all this down, Mike. Is there any other info you can give me?
I'm just looking.
All right.
It's really funny.
Are you Googling the Bing?
Yeah.
It's an old term of endearment for a rambunctious male toddler from the Low German dialect spoken by Mennonites.
He is definitely obnoxious.
Wow.
That's why he used the name Snickerfritz.
Yeah, so this will be
the
last...
he's obnoxious. That's him, yes.
This will be the last time your friend watches the show now. Thank you, John.
No, he loves it. He's enjoying this right now. He's sitting at home, he's watching it and enjoying it.
Oh, my goodness. So, all right. Well, it's now 12:08. So before we get to our 3-hour marathon, I do want to... So is there anything, Rukari, from the gaming world that you had a kind of a sense to talk about? You don't do news cycles, so you saw the controller. You like the controller?
Sure, whatever. I'm going to get it. Like it's just one of those things. So be it. It is what it is. I mean, when I first saw the Xbox One, I was like, "Oh, that's ugly. Oh, I'm gonna get it." It is what it is. I was more worried. I couldn't tell if the buttons, the circle, square, triangle, and I don't want to even call it a cross button, the X button. I was worried that those were flush. They're raised. Cool. So be it. That was my only concern. Everything else, whatever. I liked that it looked a little thicker, but I'm going to get it regardless.
Yeah, when they first introduced that controller, Rukari, people at first thought it didn't have, but it does have a 3.5 millimeter jack for all your headphones. It works with all your DS4 headphones. So people immediately, they heard about the microphone and they were like, "Oh my God, it doesn't have a headphone jack," which it does have a headphone jack. Just to clear up the confusion.
Thank you.
All I can say, as long as it's more comfortable in my hands, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
I grabbed the picture
than the DS4.
I grabbed the picture of it, for some reason it's not showing. That's weird.
Like I said, I think the hardest controller for me to ever play was the Nintendo 64. If you can play with that controller, with the little Z, it's like a trident, It's got the 3 prongs, and it's got the Z trigger button on the bottom.
Yep.
That was a little challenging. That was a little awkward, trying to figure out, do I hold it on this side or the other side?
A shooter, and you would have to use the C buttons to look.
Yes.
Right. When you played Bond and whatnot.
Yeah, you had to have a third hand to play that thing, but if you could, it was a very interesting controller in that way.
Now the Duke, the Xbox controller, the original one, I actually played that. Now that was pretty beefy. I'm glad they've slimmed it down because I don't like the controller too beefy. It's like holding a baseball bat. I like a thin handle. I like a controller that you can get your hands around, and feel good to where it's not too big.
I loved my Duke though. That reminded me so much of the Dreamcast controller in some ways. And for some reason, I don't know why, maybe Sony knows I'm trying to show it. I grabbed a picture of the controller, but I can't get it to show up on the screen. It's the only image that I can't get to show up on the screen. I've put like a ton of other things up tonight, and it's the only one that won't work.
But we were talking about Inside Xbox. Rukari, anything from the latest Inside that caught your eye that they showed?
No. And I say no in that, the struggle was always, why have one if we're not doing news? What are we relying on? What's the value that they were bringing? I didn't get to watch it because I was actually in a rehearsal or a tech talk or whatever for the Twitch stuff that I was doing, but I had it up. And I just remember I loved how quick it was. I'm so skewed now. I look at more the production versus the actual content. And now that I get to not care about the production part of me, it's like, okay, Sea of Thieves is 2 years old. You guys are obviously grasping for straws. Sure, these games, you get a good look at them. The only thing that I'm happy that they did is kept the news and information to one chunk, and they went deeper dive after the fact. What I would love to see Inside Xbox do in the future is just get to the point and then have the anecdotal content, if you will, or the additional content be something that somebody could go choose to watch later. Don't make that the show. I think that is a good sell, but have that up for later. Tease it, give a little bit of it, and let people go watch it on their own. So that's all.
Which kind of like what they did with Grounded, right? They said after the show, watch some more.
So from that, I liked it, though I didn't care about anything that they were talking about from what I saw, because I don't think there was anything to talk about.
Yeah.
I felt that way too.
Peter and Mike, a lot of people, they feel like, well, they had a show, but they didn't really give any.
I feel like they put out a show because they had to have a show.
Yeah. And
because they didn't do one January, March.
And from what I already gathered, the way I see Inside Xbox is that they're showing what's current, right? What's current for the month, and that's it. They're not gonna show.
The problem is it's too beautiful for that. You do this week on Xbox, and you talk about that same topical stuff. So why do Inside Xbox if you're just doing a bigger this week on Xbox? That's always been my gripe.
I agree with you on that. I think that is, especially on a day when I think they knew, because and Xbox knew, because their social media kind of kind of jabbed in at it. They knew what Sony was going to talk about. They knew they were going to bring the controller. They knew they were going to announce the controller, and everybody thought that Inside Xbox was going to give more information about the Series X, which really is what everybody's waiting for. And don't get me wrong, I like Grounded. I think that Grounded is going to be a neat game. I love that Obsidian's trying something outside of their wheelhouse. And honestly, because of Wasteland 3 getting delayed, they need a couple of games to get people excited. I get it. And Grounded looked cool, and I think it's great that they could talk about where Game Pass is expanding to and xCloud is expanding to, but they could do that in a news article on the website. They didn't need to spend cycles. Sure. They didn't need to spend cycles on that where people were just not everybody cares about that. Gears Tactics, I don't think Gears Tactics,
which I'm excited for.
I think it's cool, but it's also not coming to Xbox right now. I'm sure it's going to, but there are Xbox gamers who watch this that go, "This is a game I can't even play." So,
well, I mean, it's on PC, so
it is on PC.
And play it if you got a PC, you can capable of playing it. I mean,
if
it's still an Xbox game. That's
they spend.
What's funny with all these shows, though. Just real quick, I actually have not once watched an Inside Xbox show, and it's not because I don't like Xbox or anything. I've talked to the guys before. My schedule's real busy. I work a lot, so with the remaining time I've got, I'm spending it gaming or doing this podcast, and of course I'm doing my game reviews now. But for me, I'm not the type. You've got a lot of young guys right now. There's a lot of young kids that aren't really playing games. They're watching people play games on YouTube all day long, but they're not playing them. You've got a lot of people that are watching these shows, but they're not playing their games or finishing their games. And there's only so many hours in the day. So granted, these shows are awesome and help promote company. For me, I'm just more of a traditional gamer, man. When I come home from work, my time that I have is not going to be watching shows. It's not watching somebody else play. It's going to be me playing. So that's kind of, I feel kind of bad because I don't watch like Inside Xbox. I don't watch, but at the same time, I mean, you gotta, I've got games on. I've got all these consoles. I've got all these games to play, and the only way I can get finished with them is if I stick to the grind and get them done. I don't have time to watch other people play.
No, I get that.
But at the same time, you want information that is going to drive your gaming, right?
Right, but after 39 years of gaming, though, I know. Here's the thing: there's not other than little tidbits. Everything is so fast on social media. Things will pop up on Twitter. I can find out all my information during the day without even watching a show. I already know before I get home from work. So I get there's not really anything that I miss out on. I mean, after 39 years of gaming, I know what I like when the games are announced. I know, hey, that's a category of game I like. I know I'm getting it. So I don't know. That's one thing that doesn't appeal to me.
No, and I get that, and I watched it because I wanted to see what, I'm not sold. I'm not totally sold on getting these next gen consoles yet.
Right.
And I'm looking for other things, and I watch Inside Xbox, and what I'm getting is Forza Streets coming to iOS and Android. Okay. Right. What does that?
Oh, was that in the show?
That was in the show.
Yeah.
So what they did, they talked about the Xbox Game Bar. They gave a little bit about the Xbox One Series X, but it was sandwiched between Grounded, which had a really neat new trailer, the Game Bar, some more Game Pass stuff, couple games. I will say this: xCloud getting The Sims 4, I think is a great get, because if anything could be a mobile type game, it'd be The Sims. Gears Tactics, the latest Sea of Thieves thing, and then some ID at Xbox stuff, including a Hotline Miami collection, which I think is a good announcement. But again, that
Do you
stuff
think
could have
that's
been
enough to make an entire show?
No, I don't.
And granted, that one wasn't as produced.
I don't.
Ugh.
And that's why I was disappointed. I was disappointed in it because it didn't hit what I think it needed to hit. And really, seriously, all Sony had to do, with all due respect, all Sony had to do was a blog entry on their blog about the controller. And on my social media, I don't know anybody who talked about Inside Xbox.
For sure. Not at all. No.
Well, it's just like when you get newly launched games and you'll get streamers, and nothing against streamers streaming these, but they'll get early versions of copies and they'll play them, and they're on you. I don't watch any of that. Like if I know like the new Halo's coming out, if I know an Uncharted game's coming out, a new God of War, I want to be totally surprised. I don't want any information before the game comes out at all. Mm-hmm. I don't want information on the characters or different things. I like being totally surprised because when you spend your hard-earned money on these games, I like that's part of my enjoyment of the fun of getting a game is bringing it home, putting it in, and being totally surprised. You got people that already know how to beat a game before it even comes out or know the whole storyline. And that's right. And that's their fun. But I cannot relate to that at all because that's just that for me, it's totally taking away the mystique of the game. True. And to me, it runs it.
But the difference here, though, is that we're not even talking about like gameplay. We're talking about them trying to like Sony puts out they don't even put out a video, do a special show. They just put out a tweet to a blog intro. And that is what dominated at the same day they knew Microsoft was having their Inside
that's going
to
dominate because that's the first physical anything.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. 5, yeah. But there was no counter to that on a show that happened after that announcement. And so there was no mention.
To be fair, I don't think there needs to be.
Well, on Instagram, the two most liked Instagram gaming tweets ever were 4.4 million likes on the controller and 5.3 million likes on the PS5 logo. So that tells you right there, a lot of people are excited about the PlayStation and the Xbox, as they should be. So, but getting that many likes and breaking that shows you that people have interest in it, and people are craving for that. You know?
And that's what I mean is that as Rukari asked the question, was what I mentioned as part of that episode, is that enough to make a whole show around? And I don't think so.
That's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I hate judging because I mean, how I don't know when does the Inside Xbox? How often does that come on? How often does that show air?
Well, the last 2 years it was 10 episodes a year. This is the first time that they've skipped February and March. They usually don't do January. And then they pop in February, March, April, and they usually take like July off because E3 happened.
I guess I would say my thing would be it depends on how frequent. I mean, if you're doing one episode a month, you would think that they would have a pretty good amount of content. Like I said, I've never watched the show, so I don't know how long they run. On the other hand, if you do them too frequent, I mean, sometimes there's some slowdown periods in the gaming industry. And look, let's be honest. People are focused on these new consoles. There are some great games, but they're not. There may be some games. There may be some tidbits here and there, but people are really looking forward to this fall, and they're still wondering, "Hey, am I going to get these? Are they going to launch this winter?" Because
I think the underlying thing is that people are expecting E3 level announcements when it's a monthly show, and E3 is once a year, and even Gamescom doesn't live up to E3. It has announcements, but. The problem is Xbox delivers it as a newsworthy show, and when you say the word news, people think big news.
Right.
Like, I think it is a good monthly show, but they need to... God, I hate saying this out loud. You gotta drop Larry, because with Larry comes the weight. If you see Larry, you know big shit's happening. Just like you can't have Phil on the show, Because if you have Phil, big shit is happening.
Or
it
you
needs to
expect
pivot
it
away
to.
from news. Yeah. It needs to pivot away from news and be more community-driven news. Like, I was on their ass when the Elite 2 was prepping, or whatever controllers were coming out. And I was like, yo, why don't we go do a package where we film and we're at a local Microsoft store and people are in there playing, and we go interact with some of the people that are there, and we give them this new controller, and we're talking about it, and we're like pumping up that it's coming. It's like a feel-good piece that is still kind of news-driven, but when you see it, you don't expect from that show that you're getting total big stuff. I just think it's all in the delivery. That's the problem.
Right.
You see Larry, you see this huge set, and it's called Inside Xbox, and they put out a press release that it's coming, and people are like, oh shit, here we go. And then it's like, hey, Sea of Thieves is doing their, year 3 update, and you're like, come on, man.
Well,
Like,
gamers
yeah,
are hard to
gamers
are hard to satisfy too. Sometimes it don't matter what you do, Rukari. Like you could have the greatest show in the world, and somebody's going to come away and they're going to complain about something.
Well, yeah,
or it didn't have. It's a very hard thing to please everybody. But you're right. If you build the show up real big, people are expecting things.
Yep.
And that's, I think, that's kind of what I was getting at, is that I think that ended up, especially on a day when I think people were expecting it because the competition did it, and the competition kind of, and they all know they do it on purpose. Everybody knows that both companies do it, and I think people just were expecting more than they got. And to be fair, Rukari, I get what you're saying too. It's a monthly show. You can only have so much big information in a month, and you can't drop bombs every month. You just can't.
Right.
And if part of what you want to show, I'm not saying don't show Grounded. I'm not saying don't talk about the Windows Game Bar, but that has to be secondary to what the big news, that if you're going to deliver something and make it sound like you're going to deliver something, deliver it. And I think that's what happened. In my opinion, that's what happened.
Just like we talk about the market being ready for a feature, I don't think the market is ready for, or they've moved past what Inside Xbox has to offer. Like, I think they just need to change their approach on what it is. They constantly try to say, hey, it's not that crazy of a show. Well, you're positioning it as that.
Right.
The market expects this. This is what you're doing.
Maybe they should change. Maybe they should think about changing the name. Inside Xbox implies some secret ultra information. Maybe if they made the name a little, had something to do with Xbox, but it was a little more casual. Maybe that would kind of
Inside Xbox. Maybe so the people that remember it, Inside Xbox was the cheeky little weekly show that did a couple of tips and tricks on how to. When they brought it back, it was an Xbox Wire article. It was a news release. Blast went out to all the press, and they set it off by doing huge news. The first 3 had lots of news, and it was some huge production. And now that we're in year 3, they can't sustain that.
Right.
So they just put the wrong foot forward.
Maybe it should be like a moment with Xbox. Just a brief, that way it kind of sets expectations,
Or maybe Larry, so maybe the show to give up is this week on Xbox, and Inside Xbox becomes that monthly show that Larry's trying to do every week.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the key to this, and where you're doing a developer interview and stuff like that. I think that's where it is. By the way, I will say this, and we do got people are starting to drop off the chat already because it's 12:30. One game they did show that looks really cool is Last Campfire. That looks really cool. It's coming out for PC, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One, but it's a little side gig from Hello Games, and it looks really cool. So
it reminded me of Tunic.
A little bit. So, all right. So, Rukari, we're going to give you kind of the last bit here of again, just remind everybody where they can grab you. And God, man, this is a great discussion, and I really enjoyed having you, man.
I'm glad. Again, thank you for the invite. Yeah, Rakizzle everywhere. Rukizzeel. Or honestly, if you just search Rukari, there's not many of me.
No.
There's just me.
No.
First time I ever heard the name. So yeah.
Hey,
you're
that
right.
hopefully the last.
Right.
Not at all. No. And again, we invite anybody who's been on the show, who's been down there in that fifth spot, anytime, man. If you want to come on and just talk, like I said, we didn't get a chance to do a whole lot of game talk, but come on another night with us, man, and just come talk games. And
Yeah, for sure.
and
For sure.
we'll anytime, just hit up Chris, hit up me, John or Peter, and say, hey, you got room for us tonight? We'll trust me, we make room. We always
Sounds
make room for
good.
people. So
Sounds good. Well, thank you again.
yeah, man. And to the chat room, you guys are awesome. And I know we got a couple of new people in there who hasn't been on, but haven't seen us before. We really appreciate you checking us out. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the show and will come back and see us again. Open Every Box has some great television Miko videos he's been running. I want everybody to check him out.
Definitely.
And
Yeah, he had a great one about the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons
which is
game.
gonna be my
I
other.
enjoyed his talk on that.
Yeah, which is my other jam besides Astro Smash, but that's a whole other night. So we don't want to talk too much about the Amico right now. Tommy may jump in and we'll be here till 5 a.m. So so Peter, Chris, John, another great night. Thank you guys for just helping me be the pillar of this place.
Oh, you're
good.
awesome, Mike. All you guys and Rukari, it's very nice meeting you. It was
Yeah,
awesome
absolutely.
chatting with
Thank
you.
you all.
Yeah,
Very
really
pleasant to
appreciate you,
chat with you. Yeah.
Really has been. And,
This.
yeah, and it's just been such great talk. We love this kind of stuff. We really do. So so everybody who's watching, hey, you know what? We'll do what everybody else does. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, tell a friend, and hey, we'll see you guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. I actually got the video fixed, so we actually have an outro video now. So I took care of that. And you guys, hey, everybody have a great week. We'll see you next week, 9:30 p.m. For another Next Level Gaming show next Thursday. And play on, gamers.
Come on, guys.